Test, test, test. Go ahead.
A fiery ending to a Firebirds
The Harwich Mariners return home to White House Field for their final home regular season game between the Falmouth Commodores and the Harwich Mariners. Wyatt Kopelman and Devin Dobeck along with you here as Dominic Picone toes the rubber once again on a beautiful, cool night here in Harwich, Massachusetts, hovering just above 70 degrees. We just had a from the Harwich Mariners liaison, John Swenton. It was a great way to kick off the game, and Wyatt, in front of a decent crowd here at White House, should be a good one.
You're looking at a left-handed starter who has gone 6 1/3 innings, and it was on the road as well. And you consider what Picone brings as the right-hander, a good fastball, change-up, and a slider that gets a lot of ground ball contact as well. And you consider what Colin Rothermel did last night at Orleans, and certainly looked to be on the verge of going 7 scoreless out of the bullpen. And right now they're turning it over to Picone. The right-hander out of St. Joe's is certainly due for a shutout start.
Picone this season for the Mariners has an 0-3 record, but that has not told the tale at all, Wyatt. A 5.40 earned run average, making his 5th appearance, 4th start, 15 innings pitched, 15 strikeouts to just 6 walks and 16 hits. He's a guy who, when he gets in a rhythm, can really be a force to reckon with. Pitched against Falmouth actually rather recently. Actually, it was credited with the loss after 5 innings back on July the 19th. 5 innings, 75 pitches, 4 hits, 3 earned runs, 5 strikeouts to 1 walk. Not a bad mark by any point, but his offense was unable to deliver for him, and hopefully they can show up tonight.
And this is the point where you have to put that loss behind you, Devin, given that Falmouth has averaged nearly 14 runs per game over the last 4 games in which it's constructed a 4-game winning streak. It's going to be really hard here to face this Falmouth team and not allow a few runs early. Travis Bazzana out of Oregon State came through again for Falmouth last night, his 6th home run of the season.
First pitch is going to be bounced in the dirt, and we are underway right at 6:30 on a beautiful night here in Harwich. Picone, the right-hander out of St. Joseph's in Philadelphia, 5'8", 172-pound sophomore from Garnet Valley, Pennsylvania. He's behind in the count 2-0, although that one registered at 96 from some gas from Picone. Next pitch is going to miss outside, and it's 3-0. Caleb Hall leads off for the Commodores, trying to get them in motion here as Picone's behind in the count quickly, and the 3-0 is a get-me-over strike, and it's 3-1. This season for Caleb Hall, hitting .346 in his 8th game for the Commodores. He's been fantastic as he rips that one back foul. Also a .440 on-base percentage. That is the 2nd highest mark on the team behind just Travis Bazzana, who we know is one of the premier players in the league. This one's going to be cranked out into left field, ranging over is Cam Caraher, and he's under it for out number 1. Let's meet the Falmouth Commodores starting lineup for Coach Jeff Trundy. Leading off the designated hitter, Caleb Hall. Batting second, the second baseman, Travis Bazzana. Batting third, the catcher, Walker Yannick. Batting cleanup, the first baseman, Tyler McGregor. Batting fifth, the left fielder, Gavin Turley. Batting sixth, the center fielder, Nathan Humphreys. Batting seventh, the shortstop, Michael Izay. Batting eighth, the third baseman, Sean Darnell. And batting ninth in right is Caden Shapiro. First pitch for Bazzana. He shows bunt, pulls it back, and it's 1-0. And if we recall back to that night in Falmouth, these two definitely had some words for each other. Bazzana was not happy with the time in between pitches. Picone, a guy who works extremely quickly, and the two mouthing off to each other as the inning ended and Picone walked off the mound with a wave. It's a ball and a strike between these two rivals, and the next pitch just misses outside, so says Marvick Gomez behind the plate, and it's 2-1. Bazzana standing in that left-hand side awaits the next pitch, and it misses up high, so Picone with some control problems early. Worked 2 3-ball counts in his first 2 batters with Walker Yannick, the catcher, on deck. Here's the next pitch, and it's cut on a miss to make it 3-2. I'm going to take it that our radar gun is a little off because Picone has been in the high 90s almost this entire at-bat, and we haven't seen that more than maybe one pitch from Josh Bostic all season. Payoff. Swing and miss. Blew it right by him. Strikeout number 1 for Picone. He works all the way back from being down 3-1 in the count, and that's his first K, and there's 2 away.
And that's a really important strikeout to get against Bazzana, who has been excellent over the course of this season. Picone, as we mentioned, going 83 pitches deep at Wareham, but he's going to try that fastball early on to try and blow it by hitters. That time just getting it by the letters, and a really critical couple of outs here to get off despite going deep in counts.
Here comes the first pitch to the number 3 hitter in Walker Yannick, and he lifts it out into center field. Under it is Justin Boslin, and I guess we're not going to have much time to meet the Harwich defense. We'll do that in the next inning, but it's a 1-2-3 first for Dominic Picone. We'll be back in a flash from the house. No score here, and we'll meet the Mariners on the other side on the Harwich Mariners YouTube network. We welcome you back into Al Graver Press Box. Devin Dobek, Wyatt Kopelman along with you here on a beautiful Tuesday evening here in Harwich, the last regular season home game for the Mariners, who clinched the number 3 seed in the East Division for the playoffs. Orleans currently whacking around YD at Red Wilson Field, so they likely might jump up into that 1 seed, and then it's going to come down to game number 44 to determine the East Division and the rest of the playoff matchups. Whitecaps will be number 4, but until then, that's neither here or there. We'll meet the Harwich Mariners starting batting order for Coach Steve Engler. Leading off is the shortstop, Daniel Rivera, batting second. The designated hitter, Devin Obie, batting third. The first baseman, Ethan Anderson. Batting cleanup, the right fielder, Cam Leary. Batting fifth, the catcher, Brian Arndt. Batting sixth, the center fielder, Justin Boslin. Batting seventh, the third baseman, Talmadge Lecroy. Batting eighth, the left fielder, Cam Careher. And batting ninth at second is Jackson Brinker. And if you're just tuning in now, you're probably thinking, who are these Mariners? We haven't heard too much about them, especially between Brinker, Careher, Boslin, a bunch of new arrivals. Even Cam Leary, the cleanup hitter, relatively new. It's just been kind of that player turnover that's been so consistent and prominent within this Harwich order, and they're going to really be put to the test with creating chemistry within this new group headed into the postseason.
And you consider how you have to do it right now because another back-to-back losses has not helped the Mariners just in terms of getting some continuity with their hitting going into the postseason. Only 1 run across the last 2 games, and it doesn't get easier against a tall southpaw out of West Alabama and Jacob Smith. Granted, the Mariners have already faced this pitcher, Devin. He actually was just an out shy of getting the win in that 5-0 shutout for the Commodores over the Mariners back at Gov Fuller Fields last week, or 2 weeks ago for that matter. And he will go to a near 7-pitch arsenal. Now, granted, may not see a ton of it, but the Mariners do have to get out and attack him early.
Jacob Smith, the lefty, 6'7", 230 pounds, out of Calera, Alabama, attends West Alabama, comes in for the Commodores with some really good splits, a 1-0 record, 2.65 earned run average, making his 5th appearance, 4th start, 17 innings pitched, 17 hits to just 5 earned runs. 21 strikeouts to 9 walks. He is going to be fun to watch, Wyatt. We're looking forward to it.
And Daniel Rivera leading off tonight once again after going 0 for 4 last night. So you know that he's going to try and get a spark going here for the Mariners right away, given that you got a 1-2-3 job out of your starter in Picone.
So it'll be Rivera, Obie, and Anderson set to get things going here. As the pitch from Smith is going to be fouled off. Daniel Rivera, an aggressive hack early, and it's 0-1. Smith, yeah, he looks like a mountain out there on the mound, standing 6'7". He's got that big, lanky delivery, and hitters really have trouble catching up to him sometimes. 0-1 is going to miss down low, or no, it's going to be in there for a strike. It's 0-2.
He does a great job at getting that fastball low as well to get ahead in counts, and for Rivera, it's going to be a bit of a challenge here as and anyways, you see how Rivera has definitely the smaller frame here. Jacob Smith dealing that fastball early on here, and at Alabama, West Alabama this past season, dealing nearly 71 innings pitched, and the very strong strikeout to walk ratio sticks out at you right away with 104 Ks to 43 walks.
0-2 to Rivera as he awaits, and here's the pitch. Misses way up and away, and it's 1-2. Falmouth wearing their road black uniform, says Falmouth across the chest in maroon with white trim, black hats with the Falmouth F on them, gray pants, and a maroon stripe. As 1-2 is going to be rolled over to the shortstop, Michael Azay. He goes very high over to first. That one looked really uncomfortable. Not sure if the ball slipped out of his hand or if it was a transfer, but it'll be an E6 to put Daniel Rivera aboard here.
And Falmouth now with 58 errors on the season. So aside from having won its last 4 games, getting a really sharp hitting attack over those stretches of particular games where you want to be able to push across runs quickly, and especially against a struggling Harwich team, that is inexcusable to start off the game and give away free outs.
So Devin Obie now will dig in, trying to continue the offense here. Mariners need to start capitalizing on some mistakes, and against the number 10 defense in the league, a good opportunity to do so. It's 0-1 to Devin Obie. That one in there around 93 miles per hour, and it's 0-1. Obie an all-star this season for the Harwich Mariners, has a team-high 5 home runs. It's been a fantastic campaign for him since he joined the team and made his debut at Katua back in the middle of June. Pickoff attempt over at Rivera, and he's back in there safely. Obie carrying a 9-game hit streak into today, as well as a 13-game on-base streak. He's been the ultimate weapon in the middle of that Harwich order, as the 0-1 is going to be in there for a strike. It's 0-2. Mariners wearing their home cream uniform, says Mariners across the chest in navy. Cream pants as well, navy blue socks, red and white stripes. Everything trimmed in red. Navy numbers on the back as well. 0-2. Misses way up high, and it's 1-2. Yeah, Harwich coming off a devastating 2-1 walk-off loss. The first time they've been walked off this season by the Orleans Firebirds, 2-1 in 9 innings last night. 1-2. Swing and a miss. Down goes Devin Obie. And he will be out number 1 in the first strikeout for Jacob Smith here tonight.
And Smith only has 1 shutout appearance on the season. He started in 3 of the 4 games he's appeared in, but certainly doesn't take away the value that he's been able to bring. You'd rather have more innings and really quality starts, and he's been finding a lot of momentum at the right time coming into today.
Ethan Anderson digging in. First baseman tonight for the Mariners. We saw him make maybe the play of the year on defense. I mean, we've had a lot of great plays between Devin Obie, Casey Sauke throwing a runner out at the plate, Obie's rob of a home run. We saw him make a basket catch in center, but Ethan Anderson's bare hand grab on a pop fly in foul territory, definitely right in the mix of those 3-4 highlights.
As a catcher as well.
1-0 is going to be grounded foul over towards the Harwich bullpen, and it's 1-1.
First start as a catcher, and that's kind of how you kick it off. That's a really cool play to remember, even though it's just that kind of day where you didn't have your offense, but you're able to kind of rejuvenate your team a little bit.
Yeah, Harwich lost that game 11-0, but the home crowd gave a standing ovation when Anderson made the play. Something to cheer about is always nice, and he delivered. 1-1, there goes Rivera. The breaking ball is a good pitch to throw on, and they got him. So Daniel Rivera is caught stealing for out number 2 here. As looks like Ethan Anderson now will have the bases clear with 2 away and ahead in the count 2-1.
Harwich adamant on stealing this season, but has been picked off, or caught stealing rather, almost 25 times now.
Here's the 2-1. Bounced in the dirt, and it's 3-1. Off-speed pitch. Kind of a funky release from Smith that time, and so count moves in the favor of Anderson. I bet you Michael Azay able to take a deep sigh of relief after Rivera was caught stealing while reaching on his error. Here comes the 3-1 offering to Ethan Anderson. And it's going to be lifted into foul territory over towards the Falmouth dugout. Ranging over is the first baseman McGregor, and he makes a leaping catch while putting a hand on the fence. And the side is retired. So we didn't get to meet either defense. Back-to-back 1-2-3 innings for the Commodores and the Mariners. We'll be back here for the second frame in just a moment. No score at White House on the Harwich Mariners YouTube network. We welcome you back into White House Field. Devin Dobeck alongside Wyatt Kopelman as we'll take a minute to meet the Harwich Mariner defense we did not get to in inning number 1. Harwich is 4th in the Cape Cod Baseball League with 46 errors and a .969 fielding percentage. Out in the outfield, Cam Carahers in left, Justin Boslin in center with Cam Leary in right. In the infield, Talmadge Lecroy's at third, Daniel Rivera is the shortstop with Jackson Brinker at second, Ethan Anderson at first, and Brian Arndt doing the catching for now Zane Probst. It's going to be a very similar format to last night, so it seems, as it'll be just one clean inning for Dominic Picone, and he's going to be sent to rest. Of course, Steve Engler trying to preserve arms for the postseason. So Probst will toe the rubber, and first pitch is going to be grounded over to the first baseman Anderson. He'll take it himself, and it's a 3 unassisted. 1 pitch, 1 out here to start the second. Zane Probst, 6'4", 215-pound senior right-hander out of Mill Hall, Pennsylvania. Attends the University of Alabama, and this season for the Mariners, a 1-0 record to complement a 3.68 earned run average, making his 6th appearance and 4th relief appearance, 14 2/3 innings, 12 strikeouts, 6 walks, and 14 hits. Here comes the first pitch to Gavin Turley, and it's going to be in there for a strike. It's 0-1. Tonight's umpires tonight, behind the plate calling the balls and strikes, is Marvick Gomez with J.C. Fernandez at first and Tom Ryberg at third. Next pitch is cut on a miss to make it no balls and 2 strikes. Zane Probst ahead real early. Nathan Humphreys on deck for the Commodores. A lot of really good action across the league. We'll keep our eyes on as the 0-2's cut on a miss. Aren't going to have to make a throw down to first, and it's there in time. Good morning, good afternoon, good night. Zane Probst picks up the punch out, his first of the ball game, and there's 2 away quickly in the second.
Orleans was ahead on Yarmouth Dennis. That's an interesting matchup to watch out for. If Orleans able to win out, it would be able to take the top seed in the East Division.
Orleans still up 8-4 now. Hyannis on top of Wareham, 2-0. They're trying to steer away the Commodores from jumping in that home field advantage spot in the number 2 seed in the West. If they can beat Wareham, it will be much easier. Harwich win against Falmouth would all but seal it. 0-1 misses outside to make it a ball and a strike. Bourne also on top of Katuitt 3-1, but Katuitt clinched the number 1 seed in the West, so not too worried about that one. Probably just resting themselves and getting ready for a postseason run, as that one's going to be fouled back towards our interim producer, Courtney Robinson, filling in today, and it's going to be 1-2. Michael Izay is on deck for the Doors, looking to not go 1-2-3 here, as there's a strikeout. Zane Probst with a fist pump to end it. He gets back-to-back Ks to end the second inning, a 1-2-3 inning at that. As we'll see if he returns for the third, but Harwich looking really strong on the mound here tonight. Heading to the home half of the second, we'll meet the Commodores defense on the other side. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to Harwich Mariners Baseball on the Harwich Mariners YouTube network. Take a quick look, excuse me, at the Falmouth Commodores defense. They are last in the Cape Cod Baseball League with 57 errors and a .963 fielding percentage. Out in the outfield, Gavin Turley's in left with Nathan Humphreys in center and Caden Shapiro in right. In the infield, Sean Darnell's at third with Michael Izay at short, Travis Bazana at second, Tyler McGregor's at first with Walker Yannick doing the catching for Smith. Be in the middle third of the order, Cam Leary, Brian Arndt, and Justin Boslin due up for the Mariners. A couple newer faces in there as Leary takes the first pitch he sees, and it's cut on a miss for a strike, 0-1. Leary in right field for the Mariners tonight. He's had an interesting start in his time here in Harwich. Only one hit through his first 3 games, but in that cleanup spot tonight, Steve Engler has big expectations of him. Here comes the 0-1. And it's going to just miss up and in, and it's 1 ball and a strike. Larry out of Boston College, native of Bethpage, New York, 6'1", 205-pound junior. 1-1 is bounced in the dirt, and it's 2 balls and a strike. Made his CCBL debut last summer on June the 12th at the Bourne Braves with the Brewster Whitecaps. First hit came 5 days later on the 17th. Here comes the 2-1 now to Leary. And misses inside, 3-1. This past spring with the Boston College Eagles, hit .258. Also drew 41 walks to 51 strikeouts, knocked in 26 runs, and had 10 bombs. Guy who's so versatile on offense, a Swiss Army knife, if you will. See what we get from him here as the 3-1, bounced in the dirt. It's a 5-pitch walk to Cam Leary, and he's the second base runner for the Mariners tonight.
And this is a really uncharacteristic start here for Cameron Smith, or Jacob Smith for that matter. Someone with just a 2.64 ERA this season, but a ground ball double play opportunity available here for a Falmouth team that turns them relatively often. As a matter of fact, just as many as the Mariners have been able to turn them this season, but it does not get any easier here as he faces the minimum of the order in Brian Arndt here.
Brian Arndt out of UNC Wilmington, a native of Holly Springs, North Carolina. Pickoff attempt not in time. Leary back with a dive. Arndt 6'2", 210 pounds. He's been fantastic for Harwich all season long. Very consistent to his college numbers. As first pitch he sees is fouled back and it's 0-1. Hitting .256 for Harwich with a .374 on-base percentage compared to .257 and .360 respectively for the UNC Wilmington Seahawks this past spring. He started for the East in the All-Star game, an integral part of the Mariners' success. See what we get out of him here today as the 0-1 is going to be another pickoff attempt over at first. Leary back in there safely with a dive. Arndt standing in the right-hand side. Saw him play a little first base last night. Did commit an error in the 9th inning, but it was a really tough play looking for the 3-6-3 double play as he flies this one foul over towards the Falmouth bullpen, and it's out of harm's way to make the count 0-2. Arndt going to be a rising junior at UNC Wilmington, plays with his brother there as well. His parents are at every game, big supporters of him here in Harwich. Great way for them to spend the summer, watching their son, who's really thrived, become an all-star, as we mentioned. 0-2 pitch. Misses way up. And I mean way up. A really nice job by Walker Yannick to snare that one down and make sure there was no advancement from Cam Leary, who does have a little bit of speed down on the base paths. Shade coming in from our left, covering almost the entire infield, but center and right field still swarmed with that light, which makes it hard to see and track the baseball. 1-2. Breaking ball dropped in there. Marvick Gomez rings him up, and that will be strikeout number 2 for Jacob Smith. And there's 1 away.
That's the most critical pitch here on the evening, getting Brian Arndt down to 2 strikes, not falling behind in the count as he had done against his prior 2 customers in Ethan Anderson and Cameron Leary. But he has to face a tall left-hand hitter here in Justin Boslin. And Boslin certainly looking to get a little hitting streak going. You mentioned the newcomers as well. Harwich needs every single contributor to be able to step up here against a Falmouth team that has been really hot as of late.
Justin Boslin, the center fielder for the Mariners tonight. First pitch to him is in there for a strike, and it's 0-1. Picked up his first hit last night for the Mariners out on the road at Eldridge Park, out of Northeastern, native of Succossana, New Jersey, 6'5", 205 pounds. Awaits the 0-1, and it misses outside to make it a ball and a strike. His season debut was last night and did go 1 for 3. Not a lot of at-bats for the Mariners throughout the ball game, in the low 30s. Here comes the 1-1. Misses up high, 2-1. Boz Lind played for the Brockton Rocks in the FCBL before coming here to Harwich. Hit .369 for the Rocks. Also a .443 on-base percentage. Definitely earned his ticket to the Cape. 2-1. In there for a strike. It's 2 balls and 2 strikes. And then at Northeastern, hit .265 for the Huskies with a .468 on-base percentage. And when you think about that variation being almost 200 points, pretty remarkable. Granted, only played in 27 games, as that one's going to be ripped out into deep left field. Going back is Turley, and he makes the catch while battling the sun on his right, and there's 2 away.
This is a Harwich team that has not hit particularly well here in this series against Falmouth. Not as bad as Falmouth has hit, for that matter, at .229, has earned 14 walks. But the Mariners right now have not been taking too many plate appearances deep, other than the leadoff walk here from Cam Leary.
Talmadge Lecroy digs in, the third baseman for the Mariners tonight. First pitch to him is in there for a strike at the letters, 0-1. Lecroy out of Maryland. Joined Harwich just over a week ago, carrying a 6-game on-base streak and a 4-game hit streak in it today, although it's been very subtle, just about a hit a game, not going to overpower, as there goes Leary. The ball gets away from the catcher and Walker Yannick, and so it'll be a free 90 feet for Leary. He picks up a stolen base, and be a ball and a strike to Lecroy.
Yeah, and Lecroy having a strong season, very contributive with his efforts at South Carolina to help the team get to that super regional, and he talked about it just being a real highlight for him, and something to look forward to carrying over here, as he's been a little bit of a jolt in the lineup as well.
He's had a hit in 5 of his 6 games as a Mariner. No multi-hit games, but he just chips away, and sometimes it's very timely. As that one up a little bit, and it's 2-1. I mean, we think about that big hit. He had a double out in a deep left at Red Wilson Field that got the rally going for the Mariners en route to a 5-run 8th inning, which led them to the 7-6 victory. Big hit out of him there. As we're ready for the 2-1. Breaking ball misses up high, and it's 3 balls and a strike. That one got as low as 69, and we've seen the pitcher and Jacob Smith really vary those speeds like that to keep hitters off balance. That breaking ball over a 20-mile-per-hour difference than that fastball. 3-1. Breaking ball misses outside, and it's a 5-pitch walk issued to Lecroy, and 2 walks in the inning, has 2 runners on for Cam Caraher.
Well, the Mariners were shut out the last time they played this Falmouth team, 5-0, and they didn't really get much after Jacob Smith here. The West Alabama product pretty much had his ways with dealing some looking strikeouts. This time, Harwich able to put a little two-out spark together. The Mariners this season have 11 wins when they score at least 6 runs, so they need to be able to convert here in this big spot.
Caraher transferring to Boston College awaits the first pitch, and it's going to be in there for a strike to make it 0-1. Teammate with Daniel Rivera at Southern New Hampshire. Of course, both have since transferred out of there after great campaigns last season. Caraher, in particular, hit .337 with a .456 on-base percentage. Also slugged .601. That one's bounced in the dirt to make it a ball and a strike. Yeah, him and Rivera, very close friends. They've lived together. And got to be pretty cool to see each other playing on the same team in the Cape Cod Baseball League with some of the best Power 5 guys you'll ever see. Smith, a long look in, dangling that left arm, comes set at the waist. And here comes the 1-1 pitch. Big lead for Lecroy off of first, and there goes the runner in Leary, and the throw down is going to be in time. So says Tom Ryberg. A close play, a high throw, but a good tag from the third baseman in Darnell, and the side is retired. So the Mariners can't do anything with 2 walks in the inning. And Smith out of the jam. Still no score from Whitehouse. To the 3rd inning we go. We'll be right back on the Harwich Mariners YouTube network.
the shortstop from Georgetown, number 4, Michael Izay.
Bottom third of the order, Michael Izay, Sean Darnell, and Caden Shapiro due up for the Commodores. Another call to the bullpen, an identical format to last night for the Mariners, and it looks like Jake Newman is going to be the guy to go a few innings here. Zane Probst's night is over. 1 inning, no hits, no runs, no walks, 2 strikeouts. Nice job by him to keep the door slammed shut. And it'll be Jake Newman called upon out of Central Connecticut State, native of Southington, Connecticut. Ahead in the count, 0-2 now against Michael Izay. 6'1", 200-pound left-hander. Comes in with an ERA of 3.00, 1 win, 1 loss on the season, making his 4th appearance, all in relief, as that one misses outside, 1-2. He's gone 6 innings with 5 strikeouts, 3 walks, and 3 hits. And the problem for Newman is he gets really deep into counts. His pitch count gets up in a hurry. And if he's able to keep that down, he could have a very long outing similar to Rothermel, as this time he drills Izay on the bounce in the foot. And so he'll get a free 90 feet, and the leadoff man's on the first base runner of the game for the Commodores, in fact.
Well, you got 6 quick outs here from your first 2 pitchers in the ball game. The Mariners looked to Colin Rothermel for 6 scoreless last night, and in this series, the Mariners have certainly had it with the RBI production at times, but now that forces Newman to work out of the stretch here for a Mariners team that allows just about 5 runs per game.
First pitch is going to be in there for a strike to Sean Darnell, the third baseman for the Commodores. That one registering just above 90 miles per hour. Down over at first is Izay. Another way here in the third. 0-1. Breaking ball misses up high, and it's 1-1. Last outing for Newman, he was credited with a win on July 28th against the Brewster Whitecaps at home. That was that blowout victory, 21-5. He went 4 1/3, 50 pitches, 1 hit, no runs, 3 strikeouts, 2 walks. His best outing as a Mariner by far. And trying to replicate that success here tonight. He's behind now in the count, 2 balls and a strike. Darnell, the third baseman this season for the Commodores, hitting .357 in just 6 games. He's had 28 at-bats, but making a big impact. And when you can have guys in the bottom third of your order who are capable of producing, it makes your life all the difference, and that's why Falmouth has the best batting average in the league. That average at .274 compared to just .249 for the Mariners. 2-1 misses just low, and it's 3 balls and a strike from Newman. Take another look at that Orleans YD score, and it actually hasn't changed, still sitting at 8-4. Although Hyannis way in front of Wareham now 5-0 at home. 3-1, bounced in the dirt, and it's a 5-pitch walk. So a hit batsman and a walk issued from Jake Newman. And runners on first and second now for the 9-hitter and Shapiro.
Newman just about even with his strikeout to walk ratio coming in today. He's tried the slider a couple times, and it resulted in a hit batsman against Michael Izay. And now having to face Caden Shapiro here, this could be a tougher route than you might expect, especially with runners on first and second. Falmouth excellent at driving in runs, second in runs in the Cape Cod Baseball League this season.
First pitch in there for a strike, and it's 0-1. Shapiro in right field tonight for the Commodores. He's got a chance to move some runners over for the top of his order. Behind in the count 0-1, Newman surveying, and the pitch is going to be lined into right field. Almost got a piece of the runner. And into right field, it's going to be fielded by Cam Leary, who gets it in quickly, and they're all loaded up with nowhere to put him for the top of the order.
Shapiro, second team All Ivy League at Princeton this past season, and for the Commodores has been doing really well for them. You consider that he is that tough out in the 9 spot, and Jake Newman that time just left the fastball a little high. He was able to sit back on it and time it perfectly to pull.
So Caleb Hall will dig back in. The designated hitter flew out into left field back in inning number 1. First pitch is going to be lifted out into left field once again, but right at Cam Caraher, tagging and holding at third base. Really good job by Caraher to get that in, as Izay stranded at third still. They're all loaded up with 1 away now.
Yeah, he didn't waste any time on the transfer. An excellent play by the Southern New Hampshire transfer, and that's what you want to see if you're Steve Angler, to try and preserve runs early. Falmouth only with 1 hit thus far after being retired 6 in order against 2 different pitchers.
Travis Bazana now, the All-Star, will dig in. looking for some vengeance after a strikeout in inning number 1. Native of Sydney, Australia, second-team All-American this past season. Played for Australia in the 2019 U18 World Cup. A lot of accolades for him and plenty more to come, as he'll almost certainly be a top 3-round pick in the MLB draft next year. 1-0 pitch to Bazana. He pulled out of that one. Swing and a miss, and it's 1 ball and 1 strike. Bazana this season with Falmouth has registered 32 runs, 31 RBI, and 6 homers, coming off a 2-for-4 game in which he did homer as well, as that one misses outside, and it's 2 balls and a strike. Here comes the 2-1 offering, and it's cut on a miss. A really good pitch away from the plate, and once again, not able to reach out for it is Bazana, and he's now even in the count of 2 balls and 2 strikes. Going to have to protect. Newman rocks, fires, and it's swung on and missed. Jake Newman, a big strikeout at a big time against Travis Bazana, one of the best in the Cape Cod Baseball League. And now there's going to be 2 outs and the bases loaded, a chance to get out of this scoreless. This could be something we look back on, Wyatt.
Just a vital time to be able to get your first punch out of the day here after dealing those 4 1/3 scoreless innings, season-high 3 strikeouts in the 16 win over Brewster this past week. And right now Newman looks like he's able to battle back in counts.
Walker Yannick out of Sam Houston State digs in, watches the breaking ball drop in to make the count 0-1. Had 21 doubles this past season to go along with 13 bombs and 52 runs. Drove in 70 guys. Great campaign for him. 1 ball, 1 strike now as that one misses away. Yannick, a sophomore at Sam Houston State. 2023 WAC Tournament Most Outstanding Player. 1-1 pitch is going to be chopped foul towards the Harwich dugout. That one had some legs. And everyone out of harm's way. It's 1-2 now. Sun starting to go down more and more here, covering a good portion of the outfield now. Left field almost entirely covered, but center and right still battling. The 1-2 just misses outside, and it's 2 balls and 2 strikes now from Newman.
And this is if you're Falmouth, you're going to regret not scoring in this inning, especially averaging nearly 13 runs per game over its 4-game win streak entering tonight.
Here's the 2-2 pitch. Misses up high, and it's 3 balls and 2 strikes. So now the runners will be in motion on the pitch. Newman set for his biggest one of the inning. Can't leave it over the plate, but certainly can't afford to walk him. Here's the payoff. And it's going to be lifted high but foul off to the left. That one had some home run distance, but instead it's just going to be a loud foul ball. And if you're Newman, got to exhale because definitely missed his spot there. That was ball 4, but luckily the hitter and Yannick gave it a bid, and so now we'll have to do it again. 3 balls, 2 strikes. Newman comes set, and the pitch. Swing and a miss. Jake Newman, how are you? A big strikeout to end the inning and strand the bases loaded after they were loaded up with nobody away. We remain scoreless here in Harwich and step aside. For a quick break, coming back, the Mariners looking to help out their pitching staff. In just a moment on the Harwich Mariners YouTube network. Bottom of the third inning, Devin Dobeck, Wyatt Kopelman along with you here on a gorgeous night here at White House Field. Jake Newman with a highlight reel top of the third inning in which he loaded the bases full after a hit batsman, walk, and a single, and then was able to get out of it with a fly out to left and back-to-back strikeouts. That's where we stand with no score as Cam Caraher and Jackson Brinker will round out the last of the order before we go back to the top. Ground ball over to Azay. He goes on to first. 6-3 put out for out number one here in the third.
And the Mariners were aggressive early in counts last night in the first half of the game. Then begun to slow it down a little bit, take their time, and they were able to, unfortunately, just not get enough runs in that ball game aside from a solo bomb from Ali Camadillo. But now you have to just look to different people in the lineup just to try and find some connected hitting here.
Here comes the pitch to the number 9 hitter, and Jackson Brinker, and it's dropped in there for a strike to make it 0-1. Brinker this season spent time with the St. Lawrence Saints as that one misses way outside, and it's a ball and a strike. Has not recorded an at-bat for the Mariners, although he did appear on the defensive side in the 2-1 road loss to Orleans, was the 5th infielder. Here's the 1-1. And it's going to be in there for a strike. Breaking ball drops in, and it's 1-2. Brinker out of Weston, Massachusetts, 6'1", 180 pounds, a rising junior. Here's the 1-2. And just misses the inside corner. Good eye from Brinker that time to lay off. So it's 2 balls and 2 strikes now from Smith. Had 24 hits, 4 doubles, a triple, and a home run in his second season at St. Louis. Here's the 2-2. Swing and miss. Down he goes, but drop third strike. They'll send it down, and he is retired. The third strikeout for Jacob Smith, and so there will be 2 away.
Rejuvenating win for the Bourne Braves on the road at Lowell Park against the Kettleers. A 4-1 result there. That one finished in just over 2.5 hours, and the Highness Harbor Hawks taking a 5-0 lead over the Wareham Gatemen in the 4th inning from McKeon Park, and the Orleans Firebirds at 8-4 over at Red Wilson Field.
And after the walk-off last night, you could tangibly feel the energy at Eldridge Park really starting to believe that they could have a chance to win the division. I mean, it's been all YD ever since Harwich let it slip through their fingertips in the second or third week of the season, and Orleans a chance to change the narrative here in the final 2 games of the season, as that one misses up high. Make the count 2 balls and no strikes to Rivera. I mean, they were really hungry to beat the Mariners last night, although just a 2-1 score, you could tell they really wanted it. Harwich has their place locked in at 3, but Orleans looking for home field advantage all the way through the championship game, as this one's going to be popped into shallow center field, going out as Bazana, and he makes the catch. It's a 1-2-3 third for Jacob Smith. Still no score here from White House as we head to the middle third of the ball game. Back in a flash here on the Harwich Mariners YouTube network. To the 4th inning we go. Jake Newman carrying the momentum all the way back to the bump here as him and the Falmouth Commodores really squared off in that third inning, in which he loaded the bases full and then was able to get out of the jam. Still no score here as I hand the play-by-play duties over to my partner, Wyatt Kopelman, for the final time in the regular season here at White House for innings 4 through 6. Wyatt.
All right, Devin, well, it's hard to believe that the Mariners have gotten to this point. They are 12, 8-1 on home on the season as a strike is dealt here to Tyler McGregor from Jake Newman, the southpaw of Central Connecticut State, to even the count at a ball and a strike. McGregor grinding out to first, unassisted back in the second. This one chopped to the left side, foul. What a quick set of games it's been for the Mariners here at home. They have played 21 games, and they're looking to beat the Falmouth Commodores for the first time here at White House Fields. Their second home game on the season, they dropped a narrow one. Low-scoring game there. There's a cut and a miss, meanwhile, as McGregor goes down on strikes for the first time here. Jake Newman continue to dial in. Devin, you talked about in the third inning, and he's gotten 4 in a row.
Yeah, he's been fantastic, including 3 straight strikeouts, all by way of a swinging K. And for him to settle down, this is really encouraging because I wasn't really sure what to expect when we saw him let the 3 first guys on. But now that he has the confidence, knows he can get out of the jam, really excited to see how deep he goes into this one.
And for the Mariners, excited to see him retire McGregor on a strikeout. A .310 hitter this season for the Commodores. They've gotten hot at the right time of the year to close out the regular season with 4 straight wins. The 1-0 offering a beautiful slider clipped on the outer half as it's 1-1 again here to the Commodores, 1 away in the 4th. Turley striking out swinging back in the second against the first reliever for the Harwich Mariners in Zane Probst. He only went 1 inning, however. The Mariners making it a bullpen game again today as a fastball is slapped back behind the plate. This past season at Northeastern, McGregor, a very strong season through 55 games. He hit .332. Now pass it over here to Gavin Turley, trying to stay alive as he bounced it foul. Turley hit .309 at Oregon State this past season, just as a freshman as well with Falmouth. 15 for 67 entering today. But a perfect game All-American in high school. He has a bright future going forward. Can he stay alive here? There's a 1-2, goes low. Still no score here in the 4th inning. Falmouth and Harwich facing off for the 4th and final time on the season. Harwich has lost 1 game at Gulf Fuller Field this season. Newman working quickly, misses that time at 93. So still 2 strikes here, the count full to Gavin Turley. Can he stay alive? And he cuts and misses that time. That time Newman going to what looked to be a changeup as there are 2-way here in the 4th by strikeouts.
I think it was actually a breaking ball. Just had some crazy off-speed action, Wyatt, and it fooled me as well from up here. Was able to start it over the plate and then cut it way inside, jam the hitter, and a swinging strikeout. Beautiful pitch that time from Newman. Everything seems to be working here. 4 straight strikeouts.
Yeah, he's picked it up really well since Zane Probst came out of the game after the 2nd inning. Picked it up for Dominic Pacone in relief. And this is exactly what you want if you're Newman after dealing 4 1/3 scoreless innings against the Brewster Whitecaps earlier this past week. Harwich will go back to Brewster tomorrow for one final time to close out the regular season. It's a Falmouth team that is 2nd in runs per game in the Cape Cod Baseball League at just a whisker under 6.3 per game. And the Mariners have held them scoreless thus far. There's a fastball in the outer corner of the black as it's 1-2. So 2 quick strikeouts here for Jake Newman to start the 4th after getting 3 in a row to end the 3rd to leave the bases loaded. A rare lack of command that time as he'll try for a 3rd strikeout here in the inning to strike out the side. Out of the stretch here, the 2-2 outside on a slider.
Not a bad miss that time from Newman, just unfortunately left it too low. If it was a little higher, it would have probably looked like a fastball on the outer part of the plate and then cut away.
Payoff pitch, take it on the outer corner. Newman going with the high-speed fastball that time at just over 90 an hour. And he strikes out the side with a pair swinging and 1 looking as Falmouth goes down in order. For the 3rd time here tonight, Jake Newman, the Central Connecticut State product, keeps it scoreless going to the bottom of the 4th here at White House Field on the Harwich Mariners YouTube network. Jake Newman, the left-handed reliever out of Central Connecticut State, picks up right where he left off the last time the Mariners looked to him here at White House Field. That 16-run romp over Brewster. Devin Obie cuts and misses out a huge slider down the middle. As we're underway in the bottom of the fourth, 3.5 through, and the Mariners and the Commodores meeting for the final time in the regular season, they remain scoreless. Devin Obie has had a rippling last 10 games. 12 hits, 9 RBIs, 10 runs scored. The appeal down to first, and J.C. Fernandez, the first base umpire, confirms he didn't. A good job that time holding off on what looked to be a changeup. Breezy night here in Harwich, despite not too much wind blowing out in the outfield. Smith, meanwhile, back on the mound for fourth inning of a start. He's very accustomed to going at least 4, if not flirting with 5 or 6. Last time he faced the Mariners back at Gulf Fuller Field was a 5-0 shutout win, and he was an out away from getting credit with the win. So Harwich looking to avoid a 3-game losing streak here tonight after getting its first walk-off loss on the season last night at Orleans. Team that has really gotten hot at the right time. Talk about the Falmouth Commodores just winning 4 in a row. And the Katuitt Kettleers, despite clinching top spot in the West Division for the postseason set to begin Friday, they are not the hottest team right now in the West. The Mariners gave it to them last time they faced them here at White House Field, a 10-2 victory. Obie trying to stay alive, and he rolls it over towards the left side. Azay out of Georgetown, he fires across the diamond, and it's in time. One away here in the fourth, and talking about settling in as we were just starting to credit Newman, an excellent start here from Smith thus far. He has retired 4 of the last 4 he has faced, and as a matter of fact, 6 of the last 7 he's faced.
Yeah, he's looked to be rolling right along here. All good stuff from him thus far, and yeah, Harwich still held hitless, which honestly hasn't been that big of a surprise. The offense has been a little lackadaisical lately. Did have 7 hits last night, but it's been hard to come by. I mean, you had that breakout 21-5 win and then a couple other big run nights, but it's almost been 2 extremes as far as the offense goes. A ton of runs or almost none.
Yeah, like 2 different seasons in a sense. So Ethan Anderson up here, you talk about that 16-run victory for the Mariners. Their single-game high in scoring this season this past week. Anderson helping the Mariners with 4 hits, a season high for him in that major victory over Brewster. Mariners desperately want to win that tomorrow, even though it holds meaningless. Another good slider here from Jacob Smith. Anderson getting one of Harwich's 7 hits in that 1-run loss at Orleans last night. The Mariners' only run with a 2-out solo bomb from Ali Camarillo, his second on the season. Smith, meanwhile, looking for his 4th strikeout here, and said Anderson highly bounced it over towards the right side. McGregor charging in, fires to Smith covering it first, and he won't make it in time. Ethan Anderson has been a switch hitter all season here, and he's using that to his advantage. The Mariners have that 1-out base runner, and Smith and McGregor just almost looked a little offset there.
Yeah, that's one way to break up the no-hitter. I mean, that one just kind of a funky high chopper, and honestly, there was no chance at this play for the pitcher and Jacob Smith to be able to track that down, and so the first baseman of Tyler McGregor took the liberty of going after it, and then not able to get to the base in time was Smith.
Here's someone who's due for a hit here, Devin, in Cameron Leary, the junior out of Boston College. 0 for 3 in an 11-run loss against Chatham a couple nights ago as the Mariners look to get back in the win column here tonight. A Mariners team, for that matter, that has the 3rd fewest runs per game in the Cape Cod Baseball League, and with 1 run over the last 2 games, an opportunity here to break open the scoring should Anderson get driven home here, as this one is chopped foul. Meanwhile, for Falmouth, on the road this season, 11-9, one of those house fields. First home loss in the season, and flash forward almost 9 weeks later, the Commodores are trying to do it again here. And a mixture of righties and lefties in this Mariners lineup for Smith to face. A little different than when he faced the Mariners last time at Gulf Fuller Field. 2-strike pitch just goes outside. That arsenal has been on full display here for Smith. We were catching up with the broadcast crew for the Falmouth Commodores when the Mariners made their final trip to Gulf Fuller Field a couple of weeks ago, and they weren't joking when they said that Smith can go to at least 4 pitches and is still working on a few alternative pitches besides those. He's seen the slider, the changeup, the curveball as this one's ripped to the right side.
Yeah, Leary way ahead of that one. Got out in front of it and lined it, but just foul. He's able to sit on that and let it come to him. That's a base hit all day into the outfield.
Leary had a season-high 4 hits against NC State this past season. Batted .258 for Boston College. Looking to get a hit here after earning a walk back in the 6th. And that one just high. A fastball that Leary was patient on. Not to the liking of the home plate umpire in Marvick Gomez. So a big spot here for the Mariners. They get their first hit on the game with a 1-out infield single for Ethan Anderson. Can Leary follow through? 2-2, way over the head of Leary as Anderson will take off. A wild pitch that time. And that is a rarity. Maybe not too much a rarity for Smith, at least in this outing. But last time, hardly saw a wild pitch as the Mariners fell 5-0 at Go Fuller.
Yeah, no, he's typically really on top of his control, especially when he gets in a rhythm. But maybe that little infield single is going to change the motive for him here. And we'll see if Cam Leary can find his way aboard.
The Orleans Firebirds are finding their way aboard at Yarmouth Dennis ahead 11-4 in the 8th inning right now. That'd be a huge victory to finish off. The 3-2, a tapper on a curveball that time, off the cleat. Leary putting together a really good fight in this at-bat, and a lefty-lefty battle here with Anderson on second. Mariners have been keen on stealing bases, but they have only had one thus far tonight. Talmadge Lecroy able to get into scoring position, but Cameron Leary was caught stealing to close out the second. Leary with 2 RBIs on the season here for the Mariners, looking to get on the board first in a scoreless game here at White House. Payoff pitch, skied over towards the right side. Removing the mask, Yannick, and he tries to make a sliding catch, and it just goes off the fence. Wow, Yannick was quick to that one, right on the dirt, and just couldn't get a grasp on it in time.
Yeah, good effort that time. Just got a little bit of a late break, and then with the fence there, it doesn't make it any easier. You got to obviously account for that, and so Cam Leary able to stay alive.
An RBI ground out for Leary, and that 7-6 come-from-behind win for the Mariners at Yarmouth Dennis, arguably their most exhilarating win on the season. Got 5 runs in the 8th inning. Leary this past season at Boston College, 10 multi-hit games, 39 hits. He could certainly use one here to drive home Anderson, an ACC counterpart of his. That one just misses low on a fastball. Leary able to fight it off at nearly 10 pitches in the at-bat. Runners on first and second here, and you consider that the Mariners went down quietly in the 3rd. They know they have to turn the page from inning to inning as they've experienced so many times this season.
Yeah, really good job that time to be patient. Leary, I mean, that was a good spot. Almost too close to take, but sometimes you got to gamble in the game, especially when it's a tough pitch to hit, and definitely worth it that time for Leary.
All right, so that draws in Brian Arndt, who has also been quite consistent over his last 7 games with 7 hits, 4 RBIs. Both runners take off. This one shot into left field, and it's through for a base hit. On his way home, Anderson, he will score standing up, and holding at second, Cameron Leary. Brian Arndt taking the fastball and putting it right past the left side as it's a 1-out RBI single. The Mariners have the game's first lead at 1-0.
That was a hit and run executed to perfection that time by the Mariners. I mean, a really good swing from Brian Arndt to line it right between that 5-6 gap, and Anderson already in motion. Good jump to get home. Might not have been able to if he wasn't already moving.
The 12th RBI on the season for the UNC Wilmington Seahawks catcher in Brian Arndt, as that brings in Justin Boslin to dig in from the left side. The newcomer out of Northeastern, just down the road here from Harwich, Massachusetts. The runners try another double steal here, and instead this one's tapped over towards the right side. The first baseman McGregor takes it to the bag himself for the second out as both runners get in a scoring position here. The Mariners have speed on the base pass, and they'll want to employ that here with Talmadge Lecroy stepping up.
Yeah, good opportunity for one of the newer Mariners to make a name for himself ahead of the postseason. You'll take a couple more runs here. Definitely won't hurt you, especially against a talented pitcher in Smith, and see what he can make of this big spot.
So Arndt with a 1-out RBI single to left field. Lecroy with the opportunity to draw in 2 after the Mariners scored only 1 run in their last 2 games. That was the solo home run from Ali Camadillo last night, 2 nights ago. Some might say a surprising loss to the last place Chatham Anglers, eliminated from playoff contention here
So Leary on third and Arndt on second here. Mariners getting their second hit on the ball game. A good take that time from the South Carolina products. Count draws even at 1. Lee Croy with a 2-out walk back in the second. Mariners had something brewing with 2 runners in scoring position. Smith trying to leave the fourth here with just 1 run of damage. That one taken low and gets away from the catcher and Yannick. That will score 1 and Cam Leary on the pass ball. A fastball located a little low that time for the catcher out of Sam Houston State, and the Mariners are ahead by 2.
And there's a little free run there. You'll take that. Don't even have to put the ball in play. It's just a blunder that time from Yannick, and Harwich able to pick up and capitalize. Everybody doing their job, and it's working out.
Harwich finding some small angles here after the RBI base hit from Brian Arndt. Second-year Mariners catcher this season in the Cape Cod Baseball League, and it's turned into a 2-run lead. Ground out unassisted and a pass ball able to help keep the Mariners moving across the base paths here. As Talmadge Lecroy bringing his disciplined characteristic here to the plate, and an opportunity here to put runners on the corners if he can take one. 3-1, a curveball right down the middle. So Lecroy not getting the green light here. Harwich not scoring until the 4th inning last night with that solo home run from Camarillo. Big spot here for the Mariners to extend their lead. The payoff pitch gets taken on the lower half. So Lecroy thought he had it in order to win the full count battle, but Marvick Gomez rings him up as the Mariners leave Brian Arndt over at third after the RBI base hit, as the Mariners score 2 runs on 2 hits, no errors, and leave 1 on, but they lead by 2 and look to preserve that moving into the 5th inning here at White House Field. A gorgeous night in the Mariners' last home game of the regular season. This is Harwich Mariners Baseball on the Harwich Mariners YouTube network. The Harwich Mariners and the Falmouth Commodores scoreless through 3.5 innings until an RBI base hit from Brian Arndt, the Holly Springs, North Carolina native, breaking the stalemate, and a pass ball from the starter in Jacob Smith of West Alabama for Falmouth, plating the first 2 Harwich runs on the night and giving the Mariners their first lead since winning back in June. This one, a bunt laid down from Michael Azay, the shortstop, as the home plate umpire in Marvick Gomez waves it off here. Azay smiling as he takes the bat back from tonight's home plate umpire. Certainly wanted that one to try and get Falmouth its second hit on the game with a bunt single. Falmouth without a base runner since the 3rd inning. It loaded the bases before Jake Newman, back on the mound, was able to retire the side 1-2-3 after that. This one a roller over towards the right side as Brinker at second, able to make the put out at first. And Jake Smith has settled down after loading the bases with a hit batsman, a walk, and a single to right field. He got 2 punch-outs to close the 3rd inning, in addition to a line-out to left field from Caleb Hall, as he has gone 7 straight retired here against the Falmouth team. Second in runs in the Cape Cod Baseball League at just under 6.3 per game this season, but in the series has experienced some turbulence in plating runs at certain times. 7 RBIs through 3 games, 26 strikeouts against Harwich pitching. So Michael Lizay retired for the first time here tonight. A sharp ground ball as that brings up Sean Darnell as he watches a fastball down the pipe as it evens up at 1-1 here. Jake Newman coming off a very strong season at Central Connecticut State's translated well as this one is roped over towards Daniel Rivera at shortstop, and it gets past him into center field. Newman leaving the Mariners with 4 1/3 scoreless innings in their 16-run victory against the Brewster Whitecaps this past week. It was a single game high in scoring for the Mariners as they're quickly 2 away here for Caden Shapiro. Opportunity to get his second hit on the night here as the Mariners and the Commodores have 2 hits split between them here tonight. Jake Newman getting out of a huge jam back in the third after the first 6 Commodores batters were retired in order. There's another slider on display once again from Newman. Not afraid to throw it down the middle either.
Yeah, beautiful pitch that time from Jake Newman. I mean, he's had great control of that all night, and that's what's led to his success here through his 2+ innings.
So a 1-out single here for Sean Darnell, giving Falmouth its second hit on the evening. Already 0-2 here to Shapiro. Mariners taking the game's first lead with 2 runs here in the 4th inning. A Falmouth team that is a relative stolen base team this season. I say relative, the second most in the Cape Cod Baseball League. You know, you see the discrepancy between Falmouth with 80 stolen bases, Devin, and Bourne with 105 stolen bases took full advantage of Harwich pitchers on the base paths and drawing continuous advantages in this 4-game series. The interdivision matchup only occurring 4 times here in the Cape Cod Baseball League as it's 2-2 here to Caden Shapiro's battle back nicely here in this count. So Falmouth with 80 stolen bases, but has yet to swipe here tonight, and Jake Newman has been keeping Falmouth to a minimum here. Just a couple of hits thus far. 2-2 just outside, trying the fastball. What a couple of low-scoring games we've been entertained by over these past couple of nights. Last night, the Mariners with that walk-off loss against the Orleans Firebirds, but we're tied at 1 going into the bottom of that 9th inning. That one tapped back behind home plate foul. And the Mariners certainly needed more scoring early, but the Firebirds, despite being a team that has pitched quite well, they've scored quite well over the past 10 games in which they've really taken off, and the Mariners were able to look to 6 1/3 scoreless innings out of Colin Rothermel. He was magnificent as Newman with a rare miss that time on the fastball, just a little chin music. Runners on first and second here against the Central Connecticut State product.
Yeah, similar situation to what we saw in the 3rd inning. Newman getting into a jam, and this time does have the 1 out and still third base unoccupied, so a little easier of a situation, but getting deeper into this outing, it's going to become a little more difficult. We'll see how he can respond.
Needs to respond here against the leadoff hitter in Caleb Hall. Very much due for a hit here today, 0 for 2. Just 1 away here for the southpaw in Newman. So the tying run now at first here in Caden Shapiro has reached each of his 2 times here today. This one shot out towards right center field, splitting the outfielders and moving in the right fielder in Leary as he makes a huge play that time to give a critical second out here for Jake Newman. And the defense has had Newman's back here today, but you consider what they provided the first 2 pitchers in this ballgame, and Dominic Pacone, Zane Probst as well. A little bit of ground ball contact in addition to the 3 strikeouts. It's been quite the mix, and probably the most balanced mix that we've seen over the last couple of weeks, aside from the 6 1/3 innings that Pacone got at Wareham this past week.
Yeah, he seemed really locked in, and I'm all about pitchers getting in a rhythm, and that's exactly what Newman's done. He hits a little chop now and then, but has been able to pitch around it thus far.
Harwich with a 5.81 ERA in the last 5 games, but across that span has been very strikeout reliant. So Newman certainly feeling gratified to get the defense moving behind him as a fastball staples the inner corner as it's 0-2. Falmouth with 2 hits, Harwich with 2 hits, but the Mariners are on top for the first time since their first trip to Gov Fuller with 4 runs in that first inning as the Mariners took a convincing victory there. just outside. Newman has not been afraid to go to the slider early in counts. Might be adamant to go to it with 2 strikes here. Darnell on second, Shapiro on first. Big spot here. Tap to the right side, foul.
Runners were in motion that time, too.
Mm-hmm.
Got a really good jump down at second, and it's Sean Darnell.
And could you imagine with Brian Arndt behind the plate, a back pick, had that not been put in play, or I should say on the ground, it wasn't in play, but that certainly would have been a memorable out here to close out the top of the 5th, had Brian Arndt gotten a successful back pick. 1-2. Served back up the middle and into center field. Darnell at third. He gets the wave around sign. The throw to the plate is going to be in time. An excellent play by Boslin from center field, and the Northeastern product feeling right at home to get an inning-ending 8-2 putout at the plate to gun down Sean Darnell. The 2-0 lead preserved here for Jake Newman, and the Central Connecticut State product keeping Falmouth scoreless halfway home here at White House Field in the final home matchup for the Mariners against the Falmouth Commodores this season. This is Harwich Mariners baseball on the Harwich Mariners YouTube network. Well, a scintillating 8-2 putout to leave 2 on for the Falmouth Commodores keeps the Mariners ahead 2-0 as Jake Newman in his 3rd inning of work keeps one of the best scoring teams in the Cape Cod Baseball League quiet after 5 innings for the Commodores to come up. A new pitcher into the ballgame, the right-handed junior out of Tennessee Wesleyan, Kyle Bloor, as he relieves Jacob Smith of West Alabama after 4 innings of 2 earned runs, as the Mariners looking to additionally stretch their lead here with Cam Carraher out of Boston College, a Southern New Hampshire transfer stepping in here. It was a solid 4 innings and the second time facing the Mariners this season, as Jacob Smith got 4 strikeouts, but did give the Mariners that 2-run lead in the 4th. There's a strike on a fastball at nearly 100 miles an hour from Kyle Bloor, and the velocity has been there for Falmouth pitchers tonight. Not entirely assured if it was 98 miles an hour. I'm just not sure.
I think our numbers have got to be skewed, but you can't shoot the messenger.
Can't shoot the messenger, can't bite the hand that feeds you here. As Cam Carraher watches it outside for ball number 1, with Harwich holding 2 hits, Falmouth with 3 here. Relatively cool and mild night from White House Field here tonight. Bloor started his career at Colby Community College in Kansas and had a 13-0 career record at Tennessee Wesleyan, earning first-team all-conference nods. With Falmouth, he's dealt a 1-0 record, 5 2/3 innings amassed between that. 3 earned runs allowed, so we can give you some extensiveness here as Mike Trunny decides to pull Jacob Smith after 4 innings. So he is yet to go 5 innings this season. We mentioned earlier Smith was 1 out away from getting credited with the win in the Mariners' 5-0 loss at Gulf Fuller Fields just 2 weeks ago. Cam Carraher, meanwhile, looking to get the the Mariners a big spark here to start the fifth, the bottom of the fifth for that matter. Grounded out to shortstop and his only at bat here today, in which the Mariners went down in order. That one lofted into shallow center field over the head of Aze as it falls in. That one dumped in for that matter, and he took a fastball. Sounded like a little bit of a broken bat as Caraher picks up his first hit on the night.
Yeah, and that's got to feel good for him to get that monkey off his back, as I like to say, and picks up a single there, and now his first Cape League hit. Got to feel pretty good.
So Jacob Smith retiring 4 in a row, but was unable to keep the Mariners off the board in the fourth to score the game's first runs with an RBI base knock to left field from Brian Arndt and a pass ball. So that brings in Jackson Brinker as he serves one foul. Give you an update on some key matchups across the Cape Cod Baseball League. Orleans ahead 11-4 in the top of the ninth, trying to stretch that 7-run lead against the Yarmouth Dennis Red Sox. That might not be atop of the Cape Cod East Division standings, as Caraher takes off for second, and it's a hit and run as he will run into third on the hit and run. A beautiful play that time as the Mariners employ their second hit and run on the game, and their runners on the corners with Blue still working out of the stretch.
Hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And that's what the Mariners are doing here. They've now picked up their fourth hit of the ball game, and they got a runner 90 feet away with nobody out. I mean, good position to be.
So Caraher getting his first hit on the night. Brinker doing the same. As a St. Lawrence product, gives the Mariners more of a threatening advantage here on the base pass to draw in Daniel Rivera, looking for that first hit on the day. Harwich now with 2 runs and 4 hits. Falmouth trailing with no runs on 3 hits. Rivera took off that time on a high-speed slider low in the dirt. What a win it would be for the Mariners after dropping 2 straight Cape Cod East Division battles. Walk-off loss last night at Orleans, their first loss at Eldridge Park after taking 2 convincing wins, then an 11-0 loss here at White House Field to the Chatham Anglers. Falmouth has won 4 straight. This one a bunt single as one across to score in Cam Caraher, and the throw to the first base bag is too late. Still none outs here against the new reliever in Bloor as the Mariners take a 3-0 lead with their fifth hit.
I mean, yeah, this has been fun to watch. I mean, just finding ways to play small ball and get it done. Hit and runs, bunts. This is a completely different offense than we've seen from Steve Engler, and now Harwich extending their lead. Maybe it's something that could work heading forward.
And the Mariners have not been too keen or too lenient on the home run ball this season. It's interesting, Harwich has given up the second fewest home runs in the Cape Cod Baseball League. They've also hit the second fewest as Obi flies it over to the right side in foul territory, too far for anyone to get after it, as Yannick will go have a word with the right-hand reliever in Kyle Bloor. So after Jacob Smith runs into a slight blunder, unable to keep the Mariners from scoring 2 on the RBI base knock and a pass ball, Bloor having a tough time getting started here, getting off the ground against the Mariners team that is desperate to get some early runs here in the game, although they did have to wait 3 innings in order to score. Bunt single here for Rivera. The Mariners look to be in full control here. Devin Obi, one of the most consistent hitters, looking to expand on that here. 0-2 here to the outfielder out of Nashville. Kind of refreshing to see the Mariners put some acceleration here on this run production. They need to get runners moving here, especially for a team that has the 3rd fewest runs in the Cape Cod Baseball League this season, but got that 5 spot in their latest win at Yarmouth Dennis. I want a slider outside from Bloor. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Starting to find the balance between the order. The Mariners have been able to work walks at certain points in the game as they have collected 3 of those here, but the connected hitting starting to manifest itself. On a cut and a miss. Foul tip into the glove for that matter as Obi falls to 0 for 3 on the night as he foul tipped a fastball as there's just 1 away here and a much needed out for Bloor.
Yeah, big one to be able to get the strikeout on once against one of the premier hitters in this Mariner team. He drops to 0-3 on the day. And you'll see if Ethan Anderson can help out in the heart of this order. I mean, Harwich can't be safe with that 3-1 lead. Got to find ways to continue the rally and tack it on. Falmouth offense, one of the best in the league.
It is. It is, at very least consideration, the strongest next to the Katuitt Kettleers, can put up runs in a hurry. And speaking of finding ways to score here, Ethan Anderson certainly dominant over the last 10 games as he shoots this one foul to the right side. Anderson finding a spark to get the Mariners their first hit back in the 4th inning. A Mariners team that certainly needs runs here, with Anderson holding 8 hits, 8 RBIs in his last 5 games. So Brinker on second, Rivera on first after the bunt single to score Cam Carraher from third. As Anderson lobs it to the left side into foul territory, running to his right, the third baseman Darnell. He reaches over the Mariners dugout, and he does not come away with out number 2.
Definitely had a good chance to get it, just didn't completely sell out. Got a little too hesitant with the fence there and drops in and give another life for Anderson. I'm sure he's very happy with that.
And interestingly enough, Devin, when you consider the Mariners taking advantage of key spots to contribute, Ethan Anderson being a key contributor, now batting in from the left side as a switch hitter, neither of the Maryland Terrapins in the lineup here today, who have gotten off to blazing starts here in this lineup, very much integral to that 5-run 8th inning at Yarmouth Dennis. The Mariners seemed as if they were scoring as if there was no next game in the regular season, and they needed that victory. And albeit there are no RPI victories in the Cape Cod Baseball League, but it would have been a monumental victory for the Mariners to have had that existed at that point. 7-6 come from behind victory. Anderson looking to stay alive as he just takes it inside. Kevin Keister, Elijah Lambros combining for 7 and 6 hit streaks over their first handful of games here with the Harwich Mariners. They have been vital to the Mariners in their scoring production. A 2-strike pitch cut on and miss that time. Fastball, another key out here for Bloor as he looks to get out of it with just 1 run here in the 5th.
Yeah, another good pitch, kept it away, and Anderson kind of stepped down of it, pulled his head out, and bad things going to happen when you do that. Unfortunately, an empty trip for him there, and now it comes down to Cam Leary with a chance to make some noise.
Mariners found a 1-out spark. Now it'll be over to Leary with the task of creating a 2-out spark here. A 3-0 lead for Harwich with 2 away here in the 5th. This one skied over towards shallow left field, not too far for the shortstop, Azay, and the Georgetown product makes the catch as the new reliever in Bloor able to retire 3 straight with a pair of strikeouts and a little help from Azay, the shortstop, as the Mariners nonetheless get another run on the board here in the 5th as they bring 6 to the plate and they score 1 run on 3 hits, no errors, and leave 2 on. Harwich with a comfortable lead going into the 6th. This is Harwich Mariners Baseball on the Harwich Mariners YouTube network. So Jake Newman back on the mound, entering the 6th inning here after the Mariners extend their lead to 3. A bunt single turning into an RBI from Daniel Rivera, the Southern New Hampshire transfer. Walker Yannick, Tyler McGregor, Gavin Turley due up here, a third of the lineup as the 3, 4, and 5 hitters who have yet to get a hit here. Top of the order has been quite quiet here for the Falmouth Commodores, entering White House Field at 6 games over 500. And 11-9 on the road. The last time they were here at White House Field, it was just the first week on the season, and 9 weeks have blazed by. But Jake Newman has made the Falmouth Commodores lineup blaze by, as this one's chopped to left side, just foul. And speaking of blazing by, the Orleans Firebirds have started to blaze by the Yarmouth Dennis Red Sox. I mean, you talk about one of the best pitching staffs in the Cape Cod Baseball League, Devin, and for Orleans to swing the bat quite hot on the road, certainly proving a point as they look to take that top seed.
Yeah, no, they've really bounced back after a kind of quiet night against Harwich last night. They've come out of their shell, and they got a chance to win the division if they hold on.
They've soared away from their nest. Time to fly, as they say over in Orleans, and they needed some offense last night. They found it with a RBI base hit to walk it off from Jay Casey. This one is lofted deep out towards left field. Carraher going all the way back to the wall, racing, and he's unable to make the catch as it sails over the left field fence. And it's a solo blast here from Walter Yannick. And to lead off the 6th inning, the Falmouth Commodores trimmed the Harwich Mariners deficit down at 2 at 3-1.
Yeah, that was a towering drive off. Newman left that one over the plate, trying to just get a strikeout. And sometimes you make a mistake, and that's one of the few he's made tonight. But Falmouth, credit to Walker Yannick, able to barrel that one up and send a towering drive over that 330 marker down the line. And they're on the board now. Just a 2-run ball game.
This one ripped over towards the right side, past the diving glove of Brinker, and the St. Lawrence product unable to come up with it as it floats into right field. And just like that, the Harwich Mariners now facing the tying run at the plate.
And he looked almost a little tentative going after that one. Seemed to have started chopping his feet and almost waiting to time the dive to make the play. Probably could have got to the spot quickly, and unfortunately that's just a little Cape Cod Baseball League hazing here. Couldn't make the play, and now the ball will likely find him again. That's the old saying, so he's got to be ready.
So now 5 hits apiece here in this interdivision battle. There's a big fastball cut on a miss here to Gavin Turley. Also due for a hit with a pair of strikeouts against Zane Probst and Newman. This one shot over towards the right side. Anderson steps on the bag, and it's in time. Ethan Anderson back at first base here tonight, and he does not hesitate and not lacking awareness either, as they're too quick on the board here for Jake Newman.
I mean, that was awesome. A quick bang-bang double play that time. Can't get much better than that. I mean, Ethan Anderson, he's a defensive, one of the best defensive players on the team, maybe in the league, and really showing it off there. He has a high IQ, great awareness, and great job to be able to make that play, pick up his teammate in Brinker.
Key part of the order here for Jake Newman to face, and he's recovered well. And getting some help from the Virginia first baseman and Ethan Anderson after getting up the solo home run to Yannick. Count 1-1 here to Nathan Humphreys, the center fielder. Meanwhile, for Walker Yannick, the Sam Houston State catcher, after hitting 13 home runs for the program, able to translate it here. And in fact, quite the turnaround, was 0 for 4 with the walk in Falmouth's last game as he got the starting nod at designated hitter. 1-2 from Newman just outside. So the Mariners will have the middle of their order due up in the bottom of the 6th inning with Arndt, Boslin, and LeCroy as they look to make it more than a 2-run deficit for the Falmouth Commodores. Meanwhile, a good fight here from Nathan Humphreys, who, after hitting .351 with Dallas Baptist of Conference USA this past season, 53 RBIs, had a magnificent year as the Conference USA Defensive Player of the Year, looking to get his first hit. This one grounded over towards the left side. A few bounces for Talmadge LeCroy, the South Carolina product, zips across, and it's in time. So after a leadoff home run here from Yannick, the catcher, Jake Newman able to get a couple of quick outs, including a double up over at first against Tyler McGregor, as the Mariners still lead 3-1, and they look to extend it here with the middle of their order due up in the bottom of the 6th. We'll step aside. This is Harwich Mariners Baseball on the Harwich Mariners YouTube network.
sixth for Harwich, the catcher from UNC Wilmington.
So a solo bomb helping the Falmouth Commodores get on the board. 1 run on 2 hits, courtesy of Walter Yannick's solo bomb to lead off the 6th inning. And leading off the bottom of the 6th inning here, Brian Arntz. He'll be followed by Justin Boslin and Talmadge Lecroy, part of the lineup with 1 combined hit. Meanwhile, Arntz, the UNC Wilmington catcher, looking to get his 2nd hit on the night here. Nice slider that time from Kyle Bloor. Ran into a little bit of trouble in the bottom of the 5th. An RBI bunt single from Daniel Rivera, doing the Mariners a solid. That's kind of a newer expression, doing the Mariners a solid. I haven't heard it for that long. But meanwhile, for Brian Arntz, one of the Mariners' most consistent hitters over the last 5 games, and as a returning Mariners catcher this season, has been able to take a new step in his leadership around the clubhouse, especially leading the defense. He's gotten some start at first base as well, pushing himself across the defensive lineman here for the Mariners as he stays alive with a defensive swing that time. And if you're just joining us late, Dominic Picone only going 1 inning in his latest start on the season after going a season-high 6 1/3 against the Wareham Gatemen over at Spillane Field this past week. He passed it over to Zane Probst, who kept Falmouth scoreless in 1 hit. Or 1 inning, I should say, as Arntz loops it foul to the left side. It'll stay in play, and unable to make the catch that time, the third baseman in Darnell.
Yeah, big blunder. Nobody wanted to make that play, and the third baseman came flying in at the last second. That one falls in. Free life for Brian Arndt, and he's someone who's more than capable of capitalizing. We'll see what this next pitch brings for him.
And Falmouth trailing by 2 can ill afford to give away free outs here. The Mariners have not been all that aggressive or stress-inducing on the base paths here, just getting 1 stolen base. So Arndt digging back in here. Mariners have 5 hits, the Falmouth Commodores with 5 hits, and instead he cuts and misses on a low fastball as Arndt falls to 1 for 3 on the day.
Yeah, just got him to go fishing that time. Got a little too aggressive, a little too antsy, and unfortunately just got out ahead of himself. It's going to be a strikeout.
And that's one area that they were able to avoid last night in the 2-1 loss to Orleans. Despite getting walked off, Devin, the Mariners were not too susceptible at swinging at bad pitches, only struck out 4 times. But the final 4 batters were retired, however. They went down in order in the 9th after Colin Rothermel exited. This one, a bunt single attempt again here from Justin Boslin. And the throw down to first is not in time as the first baseman McGregor was off the bag, as a pair of Northeastern products will now meet at first base. And what a start here for Justin Boslin. He had an incredible 8-2 putout to close out the 5th inning. And all the while, the Mariners might just be brewing something here in the 6th.
Yeah, they're playing so much more small ball than we're used to. I mean, this is crazy to see them continuing to do this, and it's working out.
Second bunt single of the game here for the Mariners. So that was actually ruled an error. A good, valiant effort that time from Boslin to beat out the throw, but it went just a little bit wide as McGregor was off the bag. Talmadge Lecroy up here with the Mariners ahead by 2. Slices it foul. Might have been the most bunt attempts we've seen in a particular number of games. I mean, you consider how each time neither instance has involved a squeeze attempt, either a squeeze situation.
Yeah, that's just the Mariners trying to prepare for the playoffs, try out some new things that they haven't done, and so far they've been successful. Maybe the start of something new.
That one low, a throw down to second, and Boslin trying to steal, and he gets thrown out. An excellent play that time by Yannick, as he had the pass ball earlier, but able to redeem himself as the second out is recorded here for Bloor, the first reliever.
Yeah, Harwich has just not been getting great jumps over there at first base, and that one looked to be dead the whole way. And yeah, just gets gunned down. Real easy throw out that time from Yannick.
Harwich with the 4th most stolen bases on the season. They have 57, but that has come at a high risk and sometimes punishment, as they've been caught stealing now 21 times on the year. But when you need base runners to accelerate and get in a scoring position, sometimes it has been worth it. And the Mariners looking to employ double steals here tonight, in addition to the bunt singles, to try and keep the pitchers guessing here. So Talmadge Lecroy now working with nobody on and 2 away. And that one gets called looking on the outer corner. A nice fastball squeezed in on the outer corner here from Bloor. As he's able to face the minimum here in the 6th. He gets a looking strikeout, a swinging strikeout, as the Mariners score no runs on no hits, 1 error, and leave nobody on. As they move into the 7th with a 2-run advantage over the Falmouth Commodores. 6 games over 500. Could be quite the win for the Mariners. They're able to lock it up with Jake Newman back on the mound. This is Harwich Mariners Baseball on the Harwich Mariners YouTube network. So the Harwich Mariners go down with the minimum against Bloor, the Tennessee Wesleyan product, as Harwich only brings the minimum 3 times here tonight. They've been productive in finding ways to move runners across and plate some runs here in the middle innings. 2 in the 4th and 1 in the 5th. Jake Newman back up here to face Michael Lizay. And speaking of acceleration for the Orleans Firebirds, they take a 7-run victory, convincingly so, against the Yarmouth Dennis Red Sox at Red Wilson Fields. 11-4 win for Kelly Nicholson. As the appeal down to first, J.C. Fernandez appeals no. Wow, what a victory for the Firebirds as they continue to find ways to win. Almost as hot as this Falmouth team, which has won 9 of its last 11 games, but working with 2 runs behind here. As Zay takes a healthy hack and a miss on a fastball, it's quickly 1-2. What a win. I mean, what a win for that team that was in 3rd place for most of the first half of the season. Jake Newman, meanwhile, looking for another punch-out, as this one is served to the right side foul.
Yeah, commanding win, and you gotta love it. For them to be able to leapfrog after this really big win streak that they've had and now get into first place, and they control their own fate. They got to win they got to win tomorrow to seal their fate, or they need YD to lose, and it's a good place to be. They're playing the Chatham Anglers tomorrow, so not a tough matchup for Orleans, and who knows, maybe they'll be able to lock it down.
Yeah, it just doesn't get much easier for Yarmouth Dennis as well. There is a cut, and he went around as Zay strikes out for the first time here today. 3 straight retired here for Jake Newman, trying to preserve this 2-run lead, but for the Red Sox, doesn't get much easier when you face another playoff eliminated team in the Wareham Gatemen set to go to Spillane Field. So it'll be interesting to see how each team can bring its run-dominant approach to each of those final regular season matchups on the season. There's one away here for Jake Newman, facing a relatively quiet bottom third of the order here for the Falmouth Commodores that has hit 151 with 26 strikeouts here in the series entering tonight. 3 games that have gone 2 for the Falmouth Commodores and 1 for the Mariners. But right now, Jake Newman proving why he can be a very extensive or long relieving reliever for the Mariners as the playoffs continue to loom. Just gave up that solo home run to Walter Yannick back in the 6th.
Yeah, he's looked really settled in here, and this is really encouraging to get one of your, not prominent starting pitchers to give you really good innings in relief, to be consistent and to be efficient, and that's exactly what Newman's done. His team gave him the lead, and now we'll see if he can protect it. Angler's got to keep an eye on that leash for him because he can run into trouble quickly.
First, he will try and work at least one more out here in the 7th inning as he continues to stay alive in this count with that 93-mile-an-hour fastball to Sean Darnell. That one swung on a miss and a flying bat over towards the right side, and thank goodness for the protective netting as it was flying literally like a helicopter over towards the right field seating area. Wow.
Yeah, we've seen a handful of those. If I had $1, I'd probably have, enough to buy a hot dog here at the White House Field. But, yeah, that one, it's always a scary play, and thank God for the netting. I mean, those bats do not feel good, especially when they're spinning like that. So, good thing crisis averted.
Newman coming off of 4 1/3 scoreless innings against the Brewster Whitecaps, and he's only given up 1 here. Can he capitalize again here? There's a cut and a miss, a fastball. Sean Darnell had it blown by him, and he strikes out for the first time. The 10th strikeout here for Harwich pitching, and they're 2 away.
Yeah, Newman's just been fantastic. I mean, back-to-back strikeouts here. His season high this past season in college was 8 strikeouts back on April the 29th versus Fairleigh Dickinson, and he's just 1 away from that total here. His previous high for the Mariners was 3, which came back on July the 28th.
That one on the outer corner here to Caden Shapiro, the 9-hole hitter. 1 for 1 today. Earned a walk back in the 5th. Trying to get a little 2-out spark going here for Falmouth. Got on the board with a solo home run from Walter Yannick out of Sam Houston State back in the 6th. Nice fastball again. Newman able to pitch low and show some command of the zone despite facing some deep counts earlier on here in this relief outing. Low to the bases back in the 3rd and stranded them. 1-2 just inside. Tried to go with a slider with 2 strikes.
I like that miss down low, though. A pitch that starts at the knees, drops down, and you got to really recognize the pitch out of the hand in order to lay off that. Nice job by Shapiro.
2-2. A high chopper over towards the right side for Brinker, and he fires onto first just in time as he beats Shapiro by just a half step. And it's a 1-2-3 job here for Jake Newman. Nothing across for Falmouth. Still trailing Harwich 3-1 as it's time to get into the 7th inning here. The Mariners looking to keep it locked, if not extend their lead, as Jake Newman continues to roll. 3-1 lead for Harwich. This is Harwich Mariners Baseball on the Harwich Mariners YouTube network.
Number 19, Cam Caraher.
Jake Newman with 5 straight retired as the Central Connecticut State picks up right where he left off after dealing 4 1/3 scoreless innings against Brewster in that 16-run home win. Back over to my broadcast partner, Devin Dobeck. Devin?
Thank you, Wyatt, as first pitch going to be in there for a strike now to Caraher. Was able to, pick up that single, come around to score the 3rd run of the ball game for the Mariners. They lead it 3-1 here. Both teams with 5 hits, but the Commodores with a pair of errors. Not much of a surprise there. They're the worst defense in the Cape Cod Baseball League, now up to 59 errors on the season. As the count is evened up. Or no, it's actually going to be 0-2. Coming set is Bloor, and here comes his 2-strike pitch. Misses up and away, and it's 1-2. Jackson Brinker and Daniel Rivera also due up here in the 7th inning. Harwich 6 outs away on the defensive side from stealing one against the Commodores. Season series in the favor of the Commodores 2-1 as it stands, as there's a big strikeout. The 5th one for Kyle Bloor. Had 2 in the 5th, 2 in the 6th, and now 1 here in the 7th. Starting to roll through the Mariners and getting a rhythm, and there's 1 down.
Yeah, he's starting to carry over that transcendent success he expects here in the Cape Cod Baseball League. And we mentioned it earlier, through 30 1/3 innings at Tennessee Wesleyan, 7 saves. And this is the point where if you're the Doors, well, for lack of a better term, you need to close the door.
I think that their pregame show is called Open the Door.
It
so
is
that's
Open the Door, yes.
pretty ironic.
And a post-game show should appropriately be named Close the Door.
There you go. First matchup between these two came back on June the 12th, which was a 2-1 loss at White House Field for the Mariners against the Commodores in a really kind of uneventful game. 2 balls and no strikes now to the batter and Brinker, who on the day is 1 for 2 with a single and a strikeout. Way ahead in the count, making his debut on offense for the Mariners. Came in defensively last night. Here's the pitch, and it misses inside 3-0. Next matchup came on June the 25th at Gov Fuller Field, an 8-1 Mariner victory. That was when Falmouth was really going through the trenches, bottom of that West Division, had trouble winning games, and now an unstoppable powerhouse, it seems, surging their way up through the standings. 3-0 in their first strike, 3-1. And then finally, back on July the 19th, a 5-0 loss for the Mariners at Gov Fuller Field in a game in which they were held to, I believe, no more than 3 hits. And it was just, really difficult on offense, as that one's going to be in there as well to make the count 3 balls and 2 strikes.
Yeah, this is kind of a season series that's enforced a lot of perseverance of the Mariners, because when they had those 4 runs in the first inning at Gov Fuller Field the first time around, I think it was June 25th or whichever, that was an empowering win after they lost.
Payoff pitch is going to be a broken back ground ball over to third, fielded by Darnell. Has to rush the throw over, and it's in time. A nice play by Sean Darnell to retire Jackson Brinker that time, and there's 2 away.
Anyway, to finish that, the Mariners, they take that 2-1 loss here, and when you look forward at just capitalizing most on experiences, the Mariners, they actually have a bucket list in their dugout where they want to capitalize on individual experiences, but to see how that can sort of surface or materialize into something promising as a team, you kind of look at that and say, well, you take a shutout loss against Falmouth, and that was after you got 4 runs in the first inning. And speaking of which, with translating, it looks like Kyle Bloor might be getting a quick chat here.
I think they're going to make a move to the pen, and they will. Jeff Trundy pulling the trigger there, and so we'll step aside, take a break. 2 away here in the 7th. The Mariners leading 3-1 as Bloor's night is over. We'll be right back in a flash on the Harwich Mariners YouTube network. Two away here in the 7th as we get a call to the bullpen. It'll be Brian Villar coming into the ball game for the Commodores, making his debut out of Keystone College. 6'2", 210-pound right-hander from West Orange, New Jersey. First pitch misses way outside to make the count 1 ball and no strikes. Not a bad outing for Kyle Bloor. 2 2/3, 3 hits, an earned run, 5 strikeouts to no walks. You'll take that almost any day in relief as a manager. course, you would have liked to keep that run off the board, but he ran into some trouble right when he was baptized into the game in the 5th, and so now trying to have his team pick him up. They trail by 2 here as it counts 1-1 from Villar. The next pitch is going to be grounded up the middle and stopped by the second baseman, Bazana, over to first. Not in time. Daniel Rivera sliding in head first to beat out the throw, and he picks up his second hit of the ball game, 3rd time he's reached base, and the Mariners have traffic on the base paths.
Kind of a testament to the character of Daniel Rivera, just kind of that gritty, high-speed option in the bottom of the lineup that is so able to get on base by a lot of walks, and that's what he's done this season. He's stolen a handful of bases, and that time laying his entire body out to try and spark a 2-out rally. It says a lot about what you can rely on today in the leadoff spot.
So it'll be Devin Obie now, who digs in. The designated hitter has had a rough day. Snap throw down to first, not going to be in time. Obie on the day, a pair of strikeouts swinging, and also a ground out to short. His 9-game hitting streak in jeopardy here in what could be his final at-bat of the evening, especially with the Mariners on top. Needs to find one here to extend it to double digits. Pickoff attempt unsuccessful over at first. Obie still ahead in the count 1-0. And we've seen Obie hit all over the lineup. I mean, you think when he debuted was hitting in the bottom third of the order in the 7 or 8 spot, and now we see him in the cleanup spot all over the diamond, as that one's going to be lined into center field and caught by Nathan Humphreys for out number 3. Well, that will just about do it here in the 7th inning. Still 3-1 ball game. To the 8th we go. Mariners trying to close one out in their final regular season game at home in front of the home crowd. We'll be back in a flash. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to the Harwich Mariners YouTube network. To the 8th inning we go, and it's going to be a call to the bullpen for the Harwich Mariners. Scott Ellis towing the rubber. Jake Newman is relieved, and he's currently in line for the win after 5 innings, 5 hits, an earned run, 7 strikeouts to 1 walk. Fantastic job by him. So we're going to get a pinch hitter for the Commodores. Cade Clemens coming in for Hill. Hill on the day went 0 for 3 with 3 flyouts, and so Clemens coming in, trying to help him out. He'll face Scott Ellis for the Mariners. Ellis, the righty, 6'0", 188 pounds, out of Bakersfield, California. Attends Angelo State. First pitch misses for a ball. It's 1-0. 3.52 earned run average, making his 5th, or no, excuse me, reading the wrong line once again. Has not allowed an earned run, as that one's going to be lifted out into left field. Coming in is Caraher, and he's going to be called off by Bosland, who makes the catch for out number 1 here in the 8th. But back to Scott Ellis's line. Ellis has not allowed an earned run, making his third appearance all in relief. An inning and 2/3, 1 hit, and 3 strikeouts to 1 walk. Also earned the save a couple nights ago against the Lady Red Sox after 2/3 of an inning. See what we get out of the reliever today. A teammate of Dax Dave as well.
Yeah, you need quick outs, and he got his first save of the season.
That one's going to be grounded over to Jackson Brinker at second. He goes on to first and makes the play. 2 up, 2 down here for Ellis in the 8th.
Well, working into some quick outs here, and had that scoreless inning and that 2-run loss at Hyannis. So maybe not as extensive when you consider a format or a particular route to take on your pitching combinations in your bullpen going into the playoffs, where you need 2 at least unique ones to work with in the first round. But for Ellis, I mean, he has a good high fastball that he can locate on the corners as well, and can use the slider to his advantage. So we'll see what the Angelo State product can do here. This would be big for him to get a 1-2-3 inning after Newman just did that in the 7th.
Yeah, how about Jake Newman? I don't think we gave him enough credit for what he did here today. 5 strong innings, 5 hits, an earned run, 7 strikeouts. It was his best outing by far as a Mariner. Really excited we got to see it here in the final home game. That one off the glove of Ellis. Charging in is going to be Brinker on to first and offline. So that will put a runner on for the Commodores and bring the tying run up to the plate. Not sure how it'll be scored yet. Actually will be a hit. And so Walker Yannick is now 2 for 4.
Well, seemed to be a 1-4-3 materializing play, but again, for the Mariners, they've capitalized on Falmouth's couple of mistakes here tonight, but this is where you're really tested, and you have to be able to close out games strongly, and Falmouth still working with 4 outs here, and only a 2-run game with that tying run at the plate.
Tyler McGregor digs in, 1 for 3 on the day, watches strike 1 whiz by. He's grounded out to first base, struck out swinging, and singled before being the victim of a double up on a line out by Gavin Turley, who awaits on deck. Here comes the 0-1 from Ellis, and it's going to be outside for a ball to even up the count at a ball and a strike. McGregor in the cleanup spot for the Commodores today. He can swing a hot bat, holding down first base as well. Here's the 1-1. This is outside, 2-1. McGregor this season hitting .310, another Northeastern Husky, as you alluded to, Wyatt, but he's been here a lot longer. Now in his 28th game, and to be hitting above 300 in your 28th game is pretty impressive. That is longevity and efficiency at its finest. 2 balls and 2 strikes after the swing and a miss. As Ellis looking for a big out number 3 to give his team a 2-run lead heading into the home half of the 8th. The pitch bounced in the dirt. Nice stop by Brian Arndt to keep it in front of him, and so the count moves to 3-2 now.
McGregor very capable of multi-hit games this season and went 2 for 5 with Falmouth, just about a 300 hitter this year, and he's had a big year at Northeastern.
3-2 is going to be popped and flied back, actually, to keep the count at 3-2. A foul ball. Runner in motion, of course, with a full count. And 2 away. Leading off of first is McGregor. The pitch, and it's going to be chopped foul off to the right. And so we'll stay there. Nice at bat this time for McGregor. Gavin Turley, a guy who can make solid contact, as I mentioned, hit the line out earlier in the ball game, so you definitely don't want to have to go through him if you're Harwich. Find a way to get this batter right now if you're Ellis, but again, there's just so many places you can't pitch it. Sometimes that strike zone becomes much smaller if you're Ellis. 3-2. Just missed below the knees. A really good spot from Ellis, but he will give up a walk after 2 quick outs. It's now 2 quick base runners, and the Commodores in business here in the 8th.
Left fielder from Oregon State, number 1, Gavin.
Yeah, it's an opportunity for a lot of individual growth here, and Ellis has been forced into a lot of game-deciding tests this season, most recently getting that save, the game-closing strikeout at Yarmouth Dennis, and now certainly in a very similar situation.
First pitch misses outside to make it a ball and no strikes from Turley. He struck out twice by way of the swinging strikeout and then also is lined out. Big spot here as he represents the leading run. The pitch, swing and a miss. Pulled out of that one, and it's a ball and a strike. The last loss for the Falmouth Commodores came against Orleans on July the 26th, a 13-3 blowout loss at home. But they've won 4 straight ever since. And now it's a 1-2 count to Gavin Turley and a big pitch for Ellis to get out of the inning coming up. Ellis trying to escape out of the jam he's put himself in. The 1-2 just misses outside. A good spot to miss once again from Ellis. These waste pitches are definitely intriguing from a hitter's perspective, but doing a good job to stay disciplined and lay off. Here comes the 2-2. Misses outside again, and it's 3-2. Ellis making his job in relief a little more difficult than it needs to be. With Nathan Humphreys on deck, Commodores trying to load him up ahead of him. Payoff. There go the runners, and it's down in the dirt. Back-to-back walks. And they're all loaded up now. Nowhere to put them for Nathan Humphreys.
And R.J. Thomas, the pitching coach for Harwich, not emerging from the dugout, but looks like the Mariners have a couple of relievers behind him as the Mariners facing another pinch hitter here. It's going to be interesting to see if this is the option to go to here for Jeff Trundy against Ellis, probably looking to favor the matchup here and counter the right-hander with another.
So Barry Walsh will dig in with the bases loaded and 2 away here in the 8th. Fouls off the first pitch he sees, and it's 0-1. A native of Sterling, Massachusetts, attends Boston College. .214 batting average through 7 games for the Commodores. He's tallied 6 hits in that time, 4 RBIs. He's got a chance to double that total with 1 swing of the bat here. Ellis sets for the 0-1, and it's ripped out into right field, down for a base hit. In to score is 1, right behind is another. And so the Falmouth Commodores have knotted this ball game up at 3-3. An RBI single with the bases loaded evens up the ball game, and there's still runners on the corners with the Commodores threatening.
Yeah, we talked about it earlier. Falmouth, a team that's going to be aggressive on contact, and you're not going to look past Walker Yannick and Tyler McGregor, some of your fastest base runners, in order to score with 2 outs. And you know that when you're down to your last out and you hadn't had a run in a couple of innings, this is the time to start sending your runners.
So runners at the corners for Michael Azay. He's 0 for 2. He's also been hit by a pitch here today, in addition to a ground out and a strikeout. That one bounced in the dirt. Nice stop by Brian Arndt. Can't afford to let anything by him at this point in the ball game, and it's 1-0. Yeah, Harwich just can't seem to do themselves any favors late in the ball game. I mean, we had the heroics in the 8th at YD, but other than that, they just seem to kind of collapse and crumble. 1-0 is going to be down in the dirt, 2-0. On deck, Sean Darnell. And how about the move from Jeff Trundy, though, to sub in Barry Walsh, who was able to cash in place of Nathan Humphreys and tie up the ball game. That was a really great move by him, and now the Commodores not done yet. Runners on the corners, 2-0 the count with 2 away. The pitch. And it's going to be lifted out into center field. Coming in is going to be Boslin, and he makes the catch on the run for out number 3. But the Commodores, despite having the bases empty with nobody away, are able to put together a rally and bring up 5 guys to even up the ball game at 3-3. We'll take a quick break and be back for the bottom of the 8th. Still tied here at the house on the Harwich Mariners YouTube network. Home half of the 8th now in a whole new ball game. Tied at 3 as it'll be the heart of the order. Ethan Anderson, Cam Leary, and Brian Arndt due up for the M's. Scott Ellis came in, got 2 quick outs, and then a 2-out rally by the Falmouth Commodores in which they were able to tie the ball game up at 3. Just really hurt the M's, and yeah, you got to credit Falmouth. They're pretty tenacious, and a couple really good moves by Jeff Trundy from a managerial standpoint, and now Ethan Anderson trying to break the tie once again. It's a ball and no strikes. Mariners haven't scored since inning number 5, where they dropped in 1, as that one going to make the count 2 balls and no strikes. Wild pitch that time.
I mean, Villar, his mission here just to try and lower that ERA, but have to be able to go pitch by pitch, command the zone. That time missing the corner. Had a 6.47 ERA at Keystone College this year.
2-0 pitch. Misses up and away, and it's 3-0. Anderson, we've seen him put in motion, but definitely not the fastest. I wouldn't be surprised if Englert went to a pinch runner if Anderson able to get on, but also so valuable on the defensive side of things. You don't want to take him out of the ball game as that one runs in. Not sure if it hit him, but it'll be ball 4 anyways. And so a free 90 feet for Ethan Anderson.
Mariners have certainly been battle-tested in run-scoring opportunities this game. They've been able to convert as opposed to what they've missed the past couple of days, but now it's just a new ball game after a little bit of a 2-out spark, a good move by Jeff Trundy, and of course you're Scott Ellis. You want to be able to provide your team with a scoreless outing, but that's off the board. Now you have to be able to move forward.
So Cam Leary digs in. He's 0 for 1 with a pair of walks. He's also stolen a base and been caught stealing. Ball bounced in the dirt. There goes Anderson. The throw down not going to be nearly in time. And so the Mariners now with someone in scoring position without having to lay it down. A big break that time, and we'll see if they can capitalize with a runner in scoring position.
A great read that time by Anderson on the ball in the dirt, and Yannick lost it for just about 2 seconds, maybe a skosh less than that, and a great read. The Mariners now with a runner in scoring position. I mean, you consider the cover that time by Isaiah, the shortstop, as well, because he'd been in kind of the wrong position, then would have been in the center. Anderson would have had an extra base.
So Cam Leary set to resume his at-bat after a brief mound visit between Yannick and the pitcher and Villar. On deck, Brian Arndt. Mariners and Commodores knotted at 3. Here's the 1-0 pitch. And it's right down the middle to even it up at 1-1. Definitely starting to cool down more and more. Now right around 70 degrees here at the ballpark. And that sun, which provides all the heat, is MIA. Baseball after dark, Wyatt, as you like to say. 1-1. Just misses outside a borderline pitch. And Marvin Gomez says it was off the plate, and it's 2-1.
And you could tell that Villar is on the cusp of commanding that slider a little bit more here. No 2 strikes as of yet. Be interested to see if he goes back to the fastball.
2-1. Oh, that's going to be a strike. I don't know about that one. That was down at the shoelaces. I think Marvin Gomez missed that one, and it's 2-2. Brian Arndt on deck. 2-2 count now to Leary. And the pitch. And it's going to be chopped softly over to first. And that will be a free out, but it advances the runner down to third base in Ethan Anderson. And Brian Arndt, a Mariner veteran, a guy who always seems to cash in, a guy who was the all-star starter in the East Division, has a chance to give his team the lead heading into the 9th.
Leary's been quiet aside from the 2 walks. He's been able to find his way to get on base. Came around to score on the pass ball. And for Harwich, once again, starting to veer back towards smaller angles. Still with really without an extra base hit here tonight.
Infield is in, all on the grass here in Harwich. First pitch to Arndt is going to be ripped, but foul over towards the seats. And hopefully someone didn't get hit. That ball was labeled, and I think everyone appears to be okay. It looked to be the one seat that wasn't taken. Although they are going to check out what's going on over there, as well as all the kids who will flock. 0-1 pitch set to come to Brian Arndt. Here it is, and it just misses outside. A ball and a strike. Ethan Anderson walked, was able to advance on a pitch in the dirt, and then a ground ball out, a productive out down to first by Cam Leary. Advance Anderson down to third. He's 90 feet away with one out as Brian Arndt's ready for the 1-1. Swing and a miss, a nasty off-speed pitch, and Arndt was sitting on the fastball way out in front of that one, and he's going to have to protect now as the count's 1-2. Justin Boslin on deck, one of the newer Mariners. Could be thrown into a high-pressure situation. 1-2 pitch. It's going to be a broken bat pitch down and back to the pitcher. Going to have to make the play over to first as the runner holds at third, and it will be an out. Just what the doctor ordered if you're Falmouth. I mean, Brian Arndt's bat just gave out on him. And a nice job by Villar to be able to look the runner back. And Anderson at third actually booted it a little bit, but still probably would have had him after the recovery. And, yeah, no, it's going to be at the expense of a run for the Mariners, as now they're in some trouble, and it comes down to Justin Boslin.
Devin, I really credit Ethan Anderson for having the mental discipline just to hold at third, because had the ball been over to the right side, you might be able to squeeze through, even if not the most speed on the base pass for the go-ahead run.
Justin Boslin reached on an error and was caught stealing. That's the only time he's been aboard, as first pitch in there for a strike to him. No balls in a strike. Boslin had one of the highlights of the day, which was a throw out from center field to gun down a Commodore at the plate. And that's a big reason why this game is tied and where it's at now. That one bounced in the dirt, gets away from the catcher. Here comes Anderson. There will be no play. Ethan Anderson, heads up base running, able to come home on the ball that got away from the catcher and Yannick. And he gives his Mariners the lead at 4-3, doing it all by himself on the base paths.
And can you imagine had Anderson actually been tagged out at home on the non-force play, and where you had the leading runner, and a great response that time by Villar prior on the ground out from Brian Arndt's, and had he tried to go home, that run may not exist. That just goes back to that mental fortitude.
So a big burden lifting off of Justin Boslin's shoulders, as now he can just swing away with the bases empty, and his team now having the lead. It looks like Harwich is getting someone up and throwing, and that's going to be their closer, and Cole Rowland. 2 balls and a strike as we're set for the pitch. And it's going to be popped up, shallow center field. Going out is going to be Eze, and he will make the catch in shallow center for out number 3. But Ethan Anderson's leadoff walk is able to make its way all around the base paths. He scores on his own power and gives the Mariners a 4-3 lead once again. Take a quick break and be back for the 9th inning. It's winning time here in Harwich. Coming back at you on the Harwich Mariners YouTube network. To the ninth inning we go. It'll be Sean Darnell, Caden Shapiro, and Cade Clemens due up for the Commodores. See if there's any changes to that, but it looks like Darnell will dig in against the new wing, and Cole Rowland comes in relief of Scott Ellis, who went 1 inning, 2 hits, 2 earned runs, 2 walks, and no strikeouts. Not his best outing by any means, but his team able to pick him up and get the win. Or rather, get back in the winning column, or the scoring column. Jeez, fumbling all over these words as first pitch misses way up high from Cole Rowland for ball 1. Rowland this season for the Mariners has a team-high 9 appearances now. He's been so reliable, 6'3", 210-pound right-hander from Duxbury, Massachusetts. Attends Wake Forest, as it'll now be 2 balls and no strikes. A 2.35 earned run average. 1 save to go along with that. Another opportunity here. 7 2/3 innings, 5 hits, 2 earned runs, and 13 strikeouts to 1 walk is the stat that really amazes you. As that one fouled off to the left, and it's 2 balls and a strike. Rowland has hit some turbulence here, as his first 6 outings were all so smooth, but ever since then it's been a little more of a tougher task for him to get out of innings, as that one's going to be lifted out into left field, but right at Cam Caraher. He's under it, makes the catch. 1 down in the 9th.
Going back to that wild pitch for the go-ahead run to score Ethan Anderson, Falmouth has to be really disgruntled with itself, and just the command from VR. It seemed as if he was on the verge of getting a couple of strikeouts to that slider that he was going to on a pretty often basis. But for that to happen, I mean, Falmouth is a team that has 3 earned runs on average per game in this series, 32 combined strikeouts. VR would certainly need a couple of punch-outs to try and save the lead.
Shapiro ready for the first pitch, and it's way up for a ball. It's 1-0. Shapiro 1 for 2 on the day with a single, a walk. Also is grounded out to second. Here comes the 1-0 from the Wake Forest Demon Deacon, and it's going to be bounced in the dirt to make it 2-0. I mean, there was a time when Cole Rowland was just striking out the side like it was nothing. Like, he knew how to do it like the back of his hand, and ever since then has had some control problems, trying to iron them out heading into the postseason. Final game here at White House in the regular season. It's 2-0, is going to miss, or no, it's going to be in there for a strike. Back the hitter in Shapiro off the plate, but Rowland will take it, and it's 2-1. Here comes pitch number 4, the AB, from Rowland to Shapiro, and it's going to be grounded over to the second baseman. Coming in hot is Brinker over to first in time. Made it look a little uncomfortable over at second, but nonetheless got the out. And now the Mariners are 1 out away from earning their 19th win of the season.
Harwich has done a lot to win so many different ways, but you have to be able to close this out if you're Cole Rowland. Your defense has been helping you here, and for Rowland, someone who has been able to rack up a good deal of strikeouts, what an opportunity this would be. Rowland entering today with a 13-1 strikeout to walk ratio, and now still a tying run at the plate. This is the point where you want to be able to look back on this as one of your best relief outings this year.
If the Mariners are able to beat the Commodores, they will be locked in for the 3rd spot. That is Falmouth, as Hyannis will have won today and pulled to a 4-point lead, which is insurmountable. So Falmouth trying to get their home field advantage and keep those hopes alive here. 0-1 in there for a strike, and it's 0-2. And the Mariners 1 strike away in front of closing out the regular season at White House with a win. Rowland tossing the ball around in his right hand, extends his arms, comes set at the waist. He's set for the 0-2 offering as the crowd at White House turns a slow clap to a quick one. And that one in there, strike 3. The Mariners win this one. Final score of 4-3, a thrilling victory. Cole Rowland earns his 2nd save of the season with a big breaking ball to get a strikeout and close out the ball game. What a thrilling one it was, and the team, I mean, really into it, celebrating out in the mound. The home crowd really happy. An entertaining ball game, and we'll break it all down on the other side of the break as we'll step aside and be right back. One more time, the final score, 4-3 Mariners. Back in a flash on the Harwich Mariners YouTube network. We welcome you into the Harwich Mariners postgame show. Devin Dobeck alongside Wyatt Kopelman after a thrilling 4-3 victory here at White House. A game that lasted 2 hours and 23 minutes and didn't disappoint despite the short time frame. Wow, I mean, where to begin? I mean, the Mariners jumping out to a 3-1 lead in about the 5th inning. They were able to add to their 2-run margin at the time and then squandered it, and then were able to gain it back without even putting a ball in play. So it worked out. I mean, you'll take it if you're Harwich. They're not always pretty, but sometimes it comes down to capitalizing on mistakes, and the Mariners were able to do that when it counted tonight.
It's a point of the year where the Mariners have already locked up playoff contention, and they already have a 3 seed as well. So regardless of what happens with Yarmouth, Dennis, and Orleans, they get a confidence-inducing win. In fact, Falmouth actually had 3 different instances early in the game before it actually tied the game where it had an opportunity to tie or take the lead. So the fact that the Mariners were able to look to Jake Newman for another really strong outing, 5 one-run baseball of relief innings, and he got 7 strikeouts, a season high. That's going to continue to propel him forward, assuming he's able to stay around for the playoffs. And then you also consider just getting a good deal of balance around the lineup. Daniel Rivera able to reach on an infield single in the 7th. And really, the Mariners, they put some pressure on VR. And despite him coming off a strong season at Keystone College with a good deal of strikeouts, aside from a high ERA, they were able to get that game-winning run. It was by all means kind of a grinded-out kind of game, but Ethan Anderson took advantage of that ball in the dirt, and the Mariners get home with the win that they desperately needed against a team, the Falmouth Commodores, that averaged a great deal of runs over the last 5 games.
Ethan Anderson tallied a couple runs as well, a single and a walk for him, including the game-winning run. It was a good game for him in the 3 spot, and also was fantastic at first base rather. He had the double up on the line drive and was able to tag out the runner. I mean, a great game from him all around, and obviously you would have liked this win to go to Jake Newman. It will end up going to Scott Ellis as Cole Rowland receives the save, his 2nd of the season. And yeah, it's just a really good win to get, you know, kind of not the prettiest, as I mentioned earlier, but to be able to hold on and show, you know, some tenacity and fight, even though the other team was able to come back, really was encouraging, especially with only one more regular season game to go, Wyatt. And you know, it's Harwich trying to work everything out. We saw a lot of small ball from them tonight, a lot of bunts, a lot of stolen bases, hit and runs, things we haven't really seen all season long. And then, you know, mixing up the pitchers, trying to figure out who's going to be good to go in the postseason. I think that it was a good experiment game for Harwich, and they were able to get the win. So, you know, all smiles all around.
And Harwich also pitched really well against major situational hitting for a Falmouth team that looked to strike and was very threatening, left the bases loaded in the 3rd. 2 on in the 5th, and then 2 on in the 8th as well to try and take that first lead. But you consistently had that key pitching to match that. We mentioned Jake Newman, but you also had Cole Rowland, retired the side in order, didn't experience a lot of command issues. All the while, the Mariners looked really solid in just being able to capitalize on opportunities with 2 out hitting, and Harwich only left 5 on the base paths here tonight. So it's a very rewarding night for the Mariners, and it's going to provide you a lot of confidence going forward, knowing that they even have an extra base hit here tonight.
Yeah, no, it's something that you'll definitely enjoy, and, you know, it'll be good. But you're back at it tomorrow, 4 o'clock at Stony Brook Field against the Brewster Whitecaps for what could be the final time this season those 2 meet. And then after that, it'll be playoffs. Off day Thursday, and then round 1 on the road will be Friday. So looking forward to that. We'll definitely get you a preview or 2. But a game that took 2 hours and 23 minutes. The Mariners take it 4-3, fueled by 4 runs on 6 hits with no errors. The Commodores 3 runs on 7 hits with 2 errors. Ellis gets the win. VR gets the loss, and Cole Rowland earning the save. But that just